mission to see how best we can protect and preserve the mental health of individuals who are addicted to substances.
Addiction to drugs and alcohol can have profound effects on one's mental health. This leads to constrained relationships and financial difficulties, all of which can contribute to increased stress, anxiety, and depression. Substance use disorder can also impair judgment and decision-making abilities, leading to risky behaviors.
I've had several accidents that could have taken my life away, because I was drunk and high, driving around town, and I'll crash my car. Sometimes I'll get out of the accident and I don't even know how it happened.
A classical example is tramadol. It's a medication that is fantastic when it comes to treating pain. But unfortunately, it has some, fallouts. People can actually get hooked onto it. And for people to get hooked onto it, they really have to use really high doses, okay? In the consulting room, I'll prescribe like a 50 mg, but those who have to get hooked onto it will have to do like 250, 300, and it has its telling impact on the whole system. I
was so dazed with the pills I had taken. When we started taking tramadol, it was just one pill. But your tolerance level increases, so when you get to a point, you need to take more pills. And so this day, I think I had taken about 5 pills or so. And I was sitting in the trotro, I'd forgotten about myself, and I was drooling. And so a woman sitting by me in the trotro was just like, a fine gentleman like you, look at the way you have destroyed your life. Your mom is somewhere thinking her son is living right, and you've just destroyed yourself like this. And those words really hit me hard, because I felt so embarrassed for someone like me to just be sitting in a trotro and drooling because I was high on tramadol. Because of the drive and the craving, it's difficult for people to associate these substances with the deleterious effect that it's having on them and to move away from them. So that's why we have to come in our professionals to help them to process the whole thing, do a detox of them, get them into a therapeutic environment where they're able to see the association between the deleterious effect that it's having on them and the substance itself. The turning point happened in a very unconventional manner. And a few months later, something really tragic happened that's just, pushed me to surrender. So there was this guy that I used to follow on social media. He was living the best life, talking private jets, flashy cars, partying with the biggest celebrities around the world. One day I woke up and then I go on Instagram and I see this guy has jumped from the 10th floor of his penthouse in Miami and killed himself. And that was when the verse hit me. What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? This guy I was following, I thought he had it all. He just killed himself like that. Seeking professional treatment for substance use disorder is highly recommended for individuals struggling with addiction. For some, self-help, support groups, and lifestyle changes may be sufficient to overcome these obsessions. Just as the spirituality is important, professional help is also very important. For me, thankfully, or let me say, by the grace of God, I didn't have to seek professional help. What it did for me was just my spirituality, my family, my immediate family. They were so loving and caring during that period. And then Christian fellowship. I belong to a Christian fellowship of businessmen where I was able to see young people like me who aspired to the morals and the values I wanted to aspire to. So that's what did it for me.
For treatment, I have been on medications, mood stabilizers and antipsychotic medications. My psychiatrists and psychologists I've had over the years have been very, very good. We have made a very good team, and they make me feel seen, they make me feel heard. I'm grateful to them all the time. I tell them that they are the cheerleaders on my road to recovery.
Many people are not aware that children can suffer from mental disorder. And mental disorder can start at a very early age. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but mental disorder can kick in from the age of 12 upwards. So it is very important that the Mental Health Authority gets schools on board in order to enlighten those concerned, counselors and so on.
Mental health funding in Ghana has historically faced challenges, including limited resources and attention compared to other areas of healthcare. However, in recent years, there has been increased recognition of the importance of mental health and efforts to improve funding and resources.
The Mental Health Act provides for a mental health fund. The law has been in force for more than 10 years, and the fund is yet to be properly set up. That's one issue. The second matter is that mental health currently relies heavily on development partner assistance from WHO and from the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO. Mental health treatment is supposed to be free, but you may ask yourself, how free is free if the medication is not available? So the Mental Health Authority has been taking serious steps to get mental health covered by national health insurance. In actual fact, it's provided for in the Act, but it's a matter of making that become a reality.
Despite facing discrimination and hardship, Enoquagrain, Esinam and John have found strength in advocacy and education, using their platform to challenge stigma and promote understanding of mental health issues.
You can make it, you can thrive, you can be anything that you want to be. Sometimes it sounds impossible. Like when my doctors were telling me, I thought they were telling me because that's what they get paid to do. But I realized it is true. If you take your treatment, your medication seriously, you listen to the advice of your doctors, you do all these things, you will get better. You will see you make strides on your road to recovery. I tell people who are not consistent with their medications and all of that you won't see results, because if today you take your medication, tomorrow you don't take, next week you take, today you won't see results. You have to be consistent. When they tell you take it as prescribed, just do that.
Addiction spares no one, no matter your background, your race, your status, whatever the situation is. Addiction can always find its way into your life. And so it's important for us to be open and honest. There is help, but you must be willing to seek that help.
If depression is not treated, you can become suicidal and also think about death. And that is not what we stand for. We are here to give life. We are here to make sure we sustain life and make life more enjoyable for everybody. So our word to you is to reach out to us when you need it, and it's not as grim as you might be thinking of where you are sitting, but get closer and let's give you a lens through which you view your conditions, and we believe that it will be well with you.
We've done very well with increasing our human resource in mental health, but we still have a long way to go, with particular reference to stigma and funding for mental health. So I would want more work to be done in advocacy, as well as to prepare funding for people who are vulnerable for mental health. Mental health can affect anybody at any level. It does not discriminate. It could be me today and you tomorrow.
Mental health disorder is not a death sentence. With the right support and treatment, it is possible to overcome the darkest of days and find light in the midst of darkness.
of Africa. As strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
PS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as Colorlink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Syntax tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
The Honorable Reverend Intim Fojo has been defending his suspicion that a flight that stayed at the airport for days brought in cocaine and cash in the crime of money laundering. He's been asked to shut up or he will face jail unless he has proof. Will he shut up? Should he shut up? That's the question I asked him this morning. The one-stop shop Goldbod styled Goldbod. It is intended to oversee, monitor, and undertake the purchase, trade, and export of gold and other precious minerals, promote value addition to gold resources and other precious minerals of the country, support the accumulation of gold reserves by the Bank of Ghana, and generate foreign exchange. What has the guys at Imani seen that those applauding it can't seem to see? And the very controversial over 1,300 ECG containers missing, stolen. Question. Let's start the search right here. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. We ride back to deal with the vexed matters. I'm Samson Ladia Yenini.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
You're strong and you're tough. Syntax tank A by A. Syntax tank. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg you, check your tongue and get syntax. S-I-N-T-E-X. Kojo Sika Waboka. We you just over 25 years we are made in Ghana water storage solution. You were green you were blue colors in there. But great. That's your baha, your mom free water. We have over 400 agents nationwide. Just say Ghana finance baho. Find us on social media. Syntax Ghana can nominate here. Say Giovanni, Syntax say I need you in this community. And it's that simple. I will be there myself. Syntax Ghana page. All right, so just like that, we're wrapping up inside Tessie. Syntax Tank!
Hey, strong! Hey, strong!
In a fast-paced daily life, we all need to breathe a little. Day by Day Women's Skincare enhances your skin with long-lasting effects thanks to their active cosmetic ingredients. It is time for yourself. Discover the new Day by Day Women Body Lotion.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here. For now. Now I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. And right away, let me share my take with you. And on some stake, I'm asking that President John Mahama should declare the state of emergency that we have been asking for in the last, how many months? 6 months or more, or about 7 to 8 months or more. Mr. President, the state of emergency has become very important and critical. And as you know, police officers are now dying in trying to fight the Galamsey. The people are ruthless. They are armed. And we have seen situations where security officials have had to abandon, the places where they have gone to because they can't match these people. And this morning, we invite all of you to sign onto this petition demanding a revocation, a complete repeal of the LI 2462. It should be repealed and not amended. It's as simple as that. We need that. Repeal it. Don't amend just the portion that gives the president the power to give licenses for mining in the forest reserves. That law, if you offend it, as I said the last time, the maximum penalty you suffer is 1 year jail term, maximum. Or you get a fine of about 3,000 Ghana cedis. That's what it costs to devastate our forests and destroy our lives and threaten every life on this earth. We need to do that, and now. And I'm showing you, you can scan the QR code and go online and join the petition. We have gathered in excess of 3,000 signatures so far. Join us and let's insist that the president revokes, repeals, and not amend LI 2462. We have had a situation where even a judge has claimed or feigned lack of knowledge of the laws that says that if you arrest these people who are doing the wrong thing, the machines and equipment they have should be seized, and then they should be kept in custody. And when they are found guilty, they will be confiscated and distributed by the minister, and a publication in the Gazette will be made to show who received what. So that state institutions that need these heavy, duty machines can use them. The judge said he was unaware and released those, the machines to the people who were involved. Article 146 says that incompetence is a ground for removal of a judge from office. If this is not incompetence, what is it? When the law in 2019 and 2020 was being enhanced as far as the punishments are concerned, President Akufo-Addo said we cannot trust the judges in the exercise of their discretion. And that is why we had to make the law the way it was. Please declare a state of emergency now and make sure all resources are marshaled to mute this thing before it mutes us by disease and by death. That's my take. We'll be right back.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
You're strong and you're tough. Syntax tank by Syntax tank. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg you check your tongue and get Syntax SINTEX. Wait, you're just over 25 years we are made in Ghana water storage solution. You were green, you were blue, colors in there, but gray. That's it, your mom free water. We have over 400 agents nationwide. Just Ghana find yeah baho. Find us on social media. Syntax Ghana can nominate here. Say Giovanni, Syntax, I need you in this community. And it's that simple. I will be there myself. Syntax Ghana page. All right, so just like that, we're wrapping up inside Tessie. Syntax Tank! Hey, strong! Hey, strong!
To us trendsetters, to us fashion lovers, to us who flex with beautiful, unique and attractive fragrance, to us who sing of our magnificent life. Daring to feel different today means impacting a pleasant scent. For tomorrow's dawn, feel good, feel strong. Together let's break these rules and set new ones with slam. Together let's break these rules and set new ones with slam.
Excellent furnishing in a real estate business is a great deal for survival. My struggles as a young estate developer were cut short when I discovered Fernart Ghana. With quality furniture made from the finest woods and amazing after-sale service, Fernart Ghana changed my story with every single home I built. It's a one-stop shop that serves the interests of clients with a variety of living room and dining sets, solid wood kitchen installations, wardrobes, wardrobes, doors, cabinets, beds, pergolas, floor parquets, and many other wooden products that will last a lifetime. With Fernat Ghana, all clients are offered the opportunity to customize furniture to their specifications, and the smile on their faces says it all. Thanks to Fernat, now your home can look beautiful with furniture that would last for generations. Visit Fernat Ghana today and share my story. Locate us at Yaniba Estate, Osu, Accra, or call 0303-966-085 or 055-278-4097. Think wood, think Fernat.
Let's talk hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are normal structures located in the anus of all mammals.
But it is only man who suffers hemorrhoidal disease because of the erect posture we have assumed and the squatting that we do to empty our bowel. Hemorrhoids consist of a special type of blood vessels which fill with blood when we are moving our bowel and help to cushion the anus against the force of transmitting the stool. Afterwards, they empty their blood, collapse, help seal the anus to maintain continence. Over time, these vessels lose the elasticity of their walls, become dilated, permanently filled with blood, leading to congestion of the hemorrhoids. The symptoms of hemorrhoids are bleeding and prolapse of the hemorrhoids when passing stool, itching and feeling of warmth in the anus and anal discharge. Laser, ligature, and longo are the modern, minimally invasive, most effective and painless methods of treating hemorrhoids today.
Winterba Hospital, First Ghana Colorectal Center, in to serve a peculiar health need.
On the matter of air med flights and Carvoc Air private jets transporting suspected cocaine and cash. Ladies and gentlemen, on another security matter related to our airspace, the Minority Caucus calls on national security to, as a matter of urgency, make public the content of cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash transported into the country by two suspicious flights, namely Air Med flights NH23AM and Carvoc Air private jets Antonov An-12B, which landed on the tarmac of Kotoka International Airport in March 2025 from Gran Canaria, an island of Spain, and departed to the same Gran Canaria days after their arrival. Reliable intelligence intercepted by the Minority Caucus indicates that on March 20th, 2025, Air Med flight NH23AM, which is an air ambulance, and I must stress, it's an air ambulance designed specifically to carry patients, landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and remained in the country for 5 days before departing 1 a.m. on March 25th, 2025, back to Gran Canaria. Our intelligence further persists that no patient was transported by the said Air Med flight, neither to nor from Accra. There is no evidence of medical referral or patients accompanying or on board the flights on either legs of the flight. We are reliably informed that contrary to the expectation that the Air Med flight would carry patients, the purpose for which it was designed and operates, it rather on this occasion carried suspicious cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash in various United States dollars denominations. In a related development, a private jet Carvoc Air Antonov An-12B also landed at Kotoka International Airport on March 12, 2025 from the same island of Spain, Gran Canaria, and remained in the country for 13 days and departed at 6:40 hours, that is 6:40 a.m. on March 25th, 2025 to Gran Canaria. The very day Air Med flight also departed to Gran Canaria. While it is intriguing that the two suspicious flights would depart to the same location on the same day, even more intriguing is the cargo suspiciously transported by these aircrafts to and from Gran Canaria, an island known for its notoriety in drug trafficking, money laundering, among others. We call on national security to make full disclosure of the content of the cargo carried by these two aircraft into the country, as well as the cargo carried out of the country by the same aircrafts to Gran Canaria, consistent with the principle of transparency in our collective quest to fighting drug trafficking and money laundering.
The disinformation machine of the new patriotic party has been ratcheted up, and they've taken it a notch higher. This time, Reverend Intim Fojo, who also doubles as the Member of Parliament for the good people of Asin South, has made very wild claims to the effect that two aircrafts which passed through Ghana for various reasons were carrying drugs, and that was the reason why they were here. He also alleged that they were involved in money laundering, and therefore he was calling for investigations. As you may be aware, President Mahama gave him the opportunity to present any evidence or any basis he has for making that claim to the security services, so that together we could look into the matter to ascertain whether there was any truth in it. I can report to you that because he knew he was peddling total falsehoods and lies, he now claims, after being invited to assist with investigations, that he was speaking on behalf of the committee that he was part of, and that the views he expressed were not his personal views. So because of that, he says he's unable to cooperate with the security agencies. I say that he was peddling falsehood because the facts as they exist vary completely from the claims that he made. When he made that claim, he was only seeking to peddle falsehood in a bid to undermine the confidence that the people of Ghana have in this government. The truth is that two aircrafts with completely different purposes arrived in Ghana, and their arrival was perfectly legitimate, and they were here for very genuine reasons. The first one is an Antonov flight 12BK with registration number CVK 7037. Now this flight essentially is a cargo plane which arrived on the 12th of March 2025. Now no plane arrives in Ghana without a landing permit. So this plane secured a landing permit with number GAF/TMAO/25/7863. Now the purpose for arriving in Ghana was what we call a technical stop. Essentially, this is a cargo flight that was destined for the European Union market. And European Union regulations dictate that some specific regulatory requirements be met before any plane of that sort can enter the EU. Now this plane originated from Luanda in Angola. It was loaded with oil drill equipment and lubricant oil, which were contained in jerrycans. It was headed for the EU market. Now, Luanda does not have the certification to carry out the sort of requirements that this plane had to meet before entering the EU market. Now, the specific requirement is a scanning and screening RA3 procedure, which is a requirement to enter the European Union. Luanda doesn't have it. The Swiss cargo facility at the Kodoka International Airport has that certification, and they can do that kind of scanning. Whilst here, it developed an engine blade fault. Its engine blade was damaged, and then it was also detected that there was severe oil leakage, which required immediate attention. For that reason, a replacement aircraft, URCEZ, with registration number CVK 7007, was brought in to evacuate the cargo. The aircraft that was damaged remained here for 13 days that is between 12 March and 25th March 2025. After it had been inspected by aviation security, officials of the Narcotic Control Commission, officials of National Security and National Intelligence Bureau, no contraband or unlawful commodities were found on the aircraft. Now, the second aircraft in question is a Hawker 800 XP with registration number N823AM. Now, this aircraft is operated by an organization called AirMed International, which is based in Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States of America. It operates as an air ambulance. Now, Air Medical International flights in Ghana are handled by Tropicana Airlines. Now, this plane landed in Ghana on 20th March from Gran Canaria, Las Palmas, Spain, having gone through Luanda in Angola. Now, it was also here for a technical stop, which is refueling and crew rest, which is perfectly legitimate activity. It was cleared to land in Ghana with clearance number GAF TWXR252604 OFAA 0297/25. Now, whilst it was landing in Ghana, it developed a tire burst and some difficulty with its landing gear, and therefore needed to remain here to be serviced. So another aircraft with registration number N864 arrived on 22nd March with tires and flight engineers from Luanda to replace the damaged tires of the aircraft. Now, once this was fixed, it departed the Kotoka International Airport on 25th March. The aircraft was once again inspected by officials of aviation security, officials of national security, officials of the National Intelligence Bureau, and NACOC, who made sure that it did not contain any unlawful substances, as alleged by Reverend Intim Fojo. So, in a nutshell, the claims of Intim Fojo are false. He cannot prove it. That is why he is running away from the investigative bodies. He is unable to provide any shred of evidence to back his claim.
Right, so shortly we'll be engaging Reverend Intim Fojo on the back of the reactions that we have received from government and on the back of his inability so far to produce any evidence to back his suspicion. What is he going to do? Because he's come under threat of being made an example of for these kinds of comments or statements that the government labels as propaganda and intended to tarnish the reputation of the country. And our law is also against the spread of false information. In the Criminal and Other Offences Act, that could get you 3 years in jail. If you take the Electronic Communications Act, that could get you 7 years in jail. He says he's not afraid of prison. But shall we continue to demand that he provides the proof? Whilst we wait for Reverend Intim Fojo, who should join us shortly, he's the ranking. Reverend John Intim Fojo, he's the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. We have Professor Kwesi Ening joining us via Zoom. He's security consultant. We also have Kofi Bentil, Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. He's right here in the studio. Professor Ening, quickly. Yes, Kofi, you are here with me. What do you make of these allegations? So, should we just rubbish them because...
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't. First reason, Ghana has had, unfortunately, in the past, a record of drug dealing. It got so bad, we were blacklisted everywhere, and it's taken a while for us to erase that. Unfortunately, too much of it happened around the time of NDC, and I don't mean to be critical of them, but I think it's necessary that they are careful about it. Because some people think that they are aligned, and because in certain times they would have freedom, maybe they have people in certain places, so they may be able to do something.
We shouldn't ignore Reverend Fojo because the explanation from government is not sufficient for you?
The explanation seems sufficient, but where I was going was that drug dealers are not fools. all the explanations that were given, if you understand how these people work, can easily be a cover-up. Easily. And the other thing that we need to note is that historical information is instant. Something that happened yesterday, if you are asked to produce that information, you don't need time. You may need to put it together, that kind of thing. And when it comes to some of these things, the point I was trying to make is that we should be very ready. Because of a history that we've had, which we are moving away from, we should not really give any room at all. All right? So look, people like Reverend Tim Fojo and co. should be seen as whistleblowers, and we should bend backwards to accommodate them. When I spoke about the Achimota Forest thing, I was threatened with the same thing.
Okay.
They said they were going to arrest me for publishing. So
you hold on briefly. Professor Kwesi, I want a minute of your preliminary comment because we're going to tax Reverend Tim Fojo on his suspicion shortly. What do you say? Would you have put that information out in the public if you had it, that there is a suspicion that flights that have arrived contain cocaine and cash?
Well, I mean, for Kofi and I can do that as civil society activists and as scholars. But as a ranking member of the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior with oversight responsibilities for a lot of our security institutions and hopefully having security clearance, and I hope there is time for it, such information must be handled differently. And I think we need to discuss, elevate the conversation as to how people in sensitive positions who have clearance and may, because of that clearance, have access to information that is useful to securing our space should handle that information.
Is the demand on him justified? And if he's unable to go beyond the suspicion, is it fair that he suffers prosecution for spreading false information?
I think we should learn lessons from it. And something I can say this, there are quite a number of people on that Defense and Interior, probably Intelligence Committee, who are always in a campaign mode, looking for information to put out there. So for me, it's the lessons that we can learn from this particular case. Kofi's point about the historical antecedents are very clear. Until recently, we were the southern hub for cocaine trafficking on this continent, in which 13% of all the cocaine used in Western Europe passed through Ghana. So we have a long historical infrastructural framework, to support this. So hopefully there will be time. So we need to look at this.
My question, I need a direct answer from you.
Yeah.
He faces the potential of prosecution and jail if he doesn't produce the evidence.
Well,
and the law also says, even if he doesn't produce the evidence, he must show that at the time he made the publication, he had verified the truthfulness of the information.
Well, we are all not above the law, but there can be circumstances in which the lessons that we learn from our mistakes are much more important than a blatant application of the law. And here, it is the lessons that matter to me most. How people with access to sensitive information, especially parliamentarians sitting on some of the most critical committees, must handle sensitive.
Thank you very much. Reverend Tim Fojo is here in the studio with us. Thanks for joining us. So you have heard the response from the government. You were very clear, and for saying that these cargo, flights carried, in your words, cash in various US dollar denominations, supposes that you had full information about what was on the flights.
Thank you, Samson. I'm excited to be on your show. Good morning to my very good brother, Mr. Bentel, my uncle, Prof. Enin, and all my friends will be joining very shortly, and our esteemed viewers. I must quickly indicate that in the exercise of oversight as parliamentarians, we are in the minority caucus. This issue, this press conference, took place at the time we were on recess. And so Parliament had not convened. Just quickly to address the concerns my uncle, Professor Enin, tenably raised about how to be circumspect in handling matters of security and all that. Just for him to have the full picture and appreciate. So there were three matters that were already in the public, security matters. One was the national security raid that was conducted by the NIB in Sapiman on intelligence. They went with cameras in full glare of the public. They circulated it for the public to know that, yes, there's transparency. And if you hide anything, we'll fish you out. I applauded them for that. And then there was another cocaine.
Was about the 12, 20-footer container.
Absolutely.
That was supposed to be carrying gold, right?
Absolutely.
Gold bars.
And cash.
Okay.
Then around the same time, there was also some high-profile cocaine busts.
And that was in February?
February 9th, exactly.
Okay.
Then there was also a cocaine bust in Takoradi, early March, totaling about a street value of about $150 million. Subsequent to that, there was another high-profile cocaine bust of $350 million. And then they put it out there in the media. There was also another incident, which for the first time in about 3 years, we had never had pirates attacking a fishing vessel on Ghanaian waters. And Ghana Armed Forces so responsibly put out a press release, detailed the incident and investigations that were being carried. So we held a press conference as minority caucus, calling on the security apparatus to provide us updates into these incidents that have come.
No issues have been raised with this.
No, yes, so but the conversation.
Let's go for the jugular.
We'll go to that, but I just want for you to know, it was a single press conference. The Air Med flight was the second issue among the other issues, and we're asking them that, what is the status of all these? Now, we have not even had any questions from them yet. We'll come to that. We haven't had any answers. We haven't had any, and I thought the media, I shouldn't even have put this question out there, because the media accompany national security. And 2 months on, we have not had any prosecution of the perpetrators. No one has been arraigned before court. The drugs that were busted, nobody has been arraigned before court. And we are asking, what is the status of these, including the Air Med suspicious flight, which also came in around the same time. Now, people are so interested in prosecution of individuals. They're not interested in prosecution of the
That is the allegation you have raised.
Yes.
And that's what we are interrogating. That's a matter of controversy now.
So in the matters,
by the way you detailed what you understood to be the cargo that was brought in, a cargo of cash and cocaine, it meant that you had knowledge.
So I have a copy of the press conference here, and you even played a video. We said that our intel has intercepted a certain information, and that information has it that 2 suspicious flights out of thousands of flights which fly in and depart month by month, out of all that, only 2 were deemed to be suspicious, because one came in around exactly 12th March, departed 25th March from Gran Canaria and returned to Gran Canaria. The second also came in 20th March and departed 25th March. The one that even came in on 20th March is an air ambulance. He stayed in, and our intel further indicates that there was no patient on board the ambulance, and there was no organ on board, there was no corpse on board, and there was no patient or organ that was taken out on their return. And all of them returned to Gran Canaria. And there are antecedents about Gran Canaria when it comes to transnational issues on money laundering and cocaine and all that, those concerns. There are those antecedents. So given all those background, and the suspicion indicated that there were movements to and from the flight, suspected to be cocaine and cash. And therefore, we are asking the authorities, in the full principle of transparency, which they had demonstrated even in the raid they conducted at Sapiman with cameramen, just to show that we are doing these operations, those security operations, but transparently. They should give us information to verify what is the actual content, because this is a suspicion. Was it truly cocaine? And
they have given you information.
And if it is not,
they have given you information about one of the cargo, and they've shown you video footage, and you say that is even fake.
Yeah.
So what's the guarantee that if you got a video footage of the content of the airmed, that one too, you will not say that is fake?
My very good brother Samson, even the handling of this matter by the government is problematic and gives them away. These are specific security matters. When the Parrot incident came, Kwacho Fosu was not the one who spoke for the Ghana Armed Forces. So why is he trying to now arrogate to himself the spokesperson of security agencies?
Can we stay on the matters?
So we expected
stay on the matters of fact?
We are stating.
Yeah, let's stay on the matters of fact.
Yes, so in respect of the related.
You have been giving what you have requested. You have been giving a disclosure showing you the content of the cargo, and it is not cocaine, it is not cash.
And that content is not something that anyone can believe. And even the entire narrative is false, because the assertion that the flights that Kavok Air came from Luanda and came to land here to obtain permit to enter EU is neither here nor there. And they claim that Angola doesn't even have the certification to give permits. It's false, because that same airport that he references in Angola obtained that certification to issue RA3 permits way back November 2024. So that assertion is false. So on that premise of his assertion, what else should we even take as true?
So what is the alternative?
And you
have been shown what is supposed to be the cargo.
And it is false.
What is supposed to be the content.
It is false.
You say that is fake, that is false. Now you say it is false. So what was in it? Cocaine and money?
No, I'm establishing a point. It cannot also be believed because the response Kwacho Fosu put out there, it's not credible. The routing of the itinerary of the flight is even inaccurate, because your own station, JoyNews, when I put out the information, and NDC quickly came in and did politics and debunked it. For your Reverend Minister is lying, no such flight had come. Quickly JoyNews took the pain, checked the itinerary, and confirmed that indeed these two flights entered. Then they sat up. Now check the same fact JoyNews verified and put out, indicating the itinerary of Kavok Air. And they will tell you it's completely different from the itinerary that Kwacho Fosu put out.
Thank you for that. Let's stay here.
So he has put out inaccurate information.
Let's stay here. You said the plane came and offloaded cargo and then took cargo back. The cargo you say it's offloaded, at least one of the planes, you have been shown the cargo. So should we take it that you don't have suspicions anymore? Because you said it was suspicion. And you have been shown that it is not cocaine, it is not money.
Now, the credibility of that video and information is in doubt. And I say so because if NIB, if Narcotics Control Commission, if Ghana Airports Company, if Police CID, Ghana Armed Forces, these relevant agencies had put out information, the credibility is high, and there will be no inaccuracies, and there would have been no crimes. That's all we asked for. We simply asked for facts. And when the armed forces brought their facts.
Reverend, you are saying that if it was NACOB or the other institutions that told you or showed you this footage,
then you would want to believe.
The presidency has shown, you would have been okay with it.
You would have believed it, because
my question again to you is that
because
you have a suspicion. You have a suspicion. You have now been shown contrary evidence. You disbelieve that contrary evidence. So where is the alternative evidence?
Now, whenever this question is asked, the counter question I ask is that the moment you put out a credible information, the burden of proof shifts. When I put it out there and they doubted, but JoyNews checked and indicated that indeed those flights had come.
So in fact, the burden has not gone anywhere yet because a multitude of suspicions don't constitute proof. So you have not given any proof.
Very well.
Before the burden shifts.
Very well. Let me continue to respond.
He who that alleges must prove.
Very well.
Where is your proof? They have shown you the proof. So you disbelieve.
We have released our press conference our press statement, and we have stated in there.
You are talking
that
suspicion.
our intel, yes, please, our suspicion, is it not the people who gave them intel, upon which intel they went to raid Sapima, upon which intel they went to raid the containers containing cocaine? Samson, going by your logic, did they enter the container to take pictures of the cocaine, took samples of it, brought it as real physical tangible evidence, and brought it to national security? That this is our proof, this is our evidence that there's container in Takoradi, another one in Cape Coast containing cocaine. Therefore, act on it. If we are in this country and suddenly want to say that before a ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee will ask a simple question of suspicion for relevant authorities to investigate and put out credible information, and that query is evaded by politicians who can't champion the PR of it and prevent the security agencies from undertaking their investigations and credible communication, and demand that the ranking member must bring pictures and samples of the cash and cocaine suspected to be in the flight, then what was the basis for we calling for inquiry and investigations into it? If I don't have a picture and a sample of the cocaine, then I have no gravitas to ask for investigation. Is that a kind of logic? Please, in this matter,
so you are saying
if the government of Ghana is not serious about it,
anybody can get up any day in this country and raise an alarm, and the government should go investigating. And when it investigates and it brings you what it says, this is what the truth is supposed to be.
One investigation,
they should be entitled.
No, please, let me tell you.
Hold on. They
no investigation has been done.
They should be entitled to say what the government is showing is false, is fake, and we shouldn't believe that.
Samson, what he put out there cannot be taken seriously, because yesterday I debated Kwachu Fosu.
The point is
no,
here.
Please.
Reverend,
and he said no investigation has been done.
You are not answering my question.
You said
you're not answering my question.
An investigation has been done, for which he has put this information, and I'm telling you, he himself said no investigation has been done yet.
You say that you have a suspicion.
Yeah.
Have you moved beyond the suspicion?
We have put out the suspicion we had.
So have you moved beyond suspicion?
To where?
Because you have been shown evidence of the content of the cargo.
And that is not credible. That content
so
is not
it
credible.
means you are not dealing with suspicion, right?
No, that content is not credible, and Samson...
It is not credible because you are not dealing with suspicion. Is that correct?
If you will indulge, the moment we put this information out there, the president responded and called for investigation into the matter, and even called for collaboration. I further wrote for that directive that the president had given to be undertaken. I wrote on 2nd April for it. NDC Parliamentary Caucus wrote a letter to gag that process. So it never came on. Subsequent to that...
You put out the information.
No,
before
please.
Belatedly, you sought to use the Defense and Interior Committee to want to ask questions, correct?
Not ask questions. If you
read my letter, your press conference precedes the 2nd of April.
So my press conference was 1st April.
Correct.
President responded and called out my name, that he has constituted NACOC, Police CID, NIB, National Security, to conduct investigations into the matters, collaborating with me. Whilst waiting for an invitation which never came, I volunteered, and as a member of Parliament and a ranking member, making such press release or statement in my capacity as such, used appropriate parliamentary procedure to have that collaboration established.
Belatedly.
No, not belatedly.
So from hindsight, do you feel that is what you should have done first before you went public with the suspicion? The suspicion you now elevate beyond suspicion, even in the face of contrary facts being put to you.
The assertion that you cannot engage the fourth estate in matters of security, it's a fallacy. That assertion,
that's not the assertion.
No, yes.
The assertion is that. The assertion is that.
The assertion is that you cannot engage. It is inappropriate to engage media in matters of security. It's a fallacy.
Spread false information.
Which falsehood has been spread?
To spread false information.
That's your conclusion.
I am not.
And that's the conclusion of Felix Kwachu Fosu.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me where your evidence is?
No, that's your firm. What was the evidence of the cocaine intel Did they bring pictures? I've asked you this question.
So if they have credible intel, they follow. Have you given them credible intel?
No, and I'm telling you is how faulty is the intel I gave them. Let me tell you, see, this whole political thing about the response is what gives the government away, that they are indeed shielding something. But the international community has taken interest. Yesterday, the government spokesperson said, Kwacho Fosu said that when he was quizzed about the directive given by President Mahama about investigations being conducted, he said, and now the video I'll send to your producer, they even have the station. They should play it. He said that they are not interested in any investigations. And said, but the president says, oh, I speak on the authority of the president. And the president says that he had to put that information out just so that he makes an example of Intim Fojo, not because they are interested in any investigations. And therefore,
so I listened to that interaction.
Yes. And so
what I heard him say, and you engaged him, what I heard him say was that
the videos there,
was that you have put out false information and you are being asked to collaborate with the security to investigate so that an example will be made of you, people like you, who spread false information.
No. So if you ask questions that we have this suspicion, we are calling on security agencies to investigate and tell us if the suspicion is true or not. Is it not an inquiry? You're a lawyer. How is that false information?
You have been giving contrary information.
How is that? We asked three questions. This was one of the questions. How is that
with what the government says is evidence? You said that is also fake. You don't believe it.
No investigation has been done. When he was asked, Kwacho Fosu said that directive given by the president itself has not been carried out. No investigation has been carried out. So on what basis have they brought videos?
Hold on for me. So.
But let me just end here.
You are saying that
if they had conducted investigations.
Help me understand this. You're saying that you're going to continue to defend and justify your suspicions, regardless of what information the government puts out.
My position is that the security agencies should be allowed. They are willing to investigate and inform the public. Let them, the politicians, allow the security agencies. When they are done with their investigations, they will communicate. And the credibility of what the security agencies will put out there, even if it has semblance with what Kwacho Fosu has put out there, people will believe because one, there was a process of investigation.
Thank you. You have said that already.
And two,
you have said that already. Hold on for me. Hold on for me. Hold on for me. Thank you, Rev. Hold on for me.
Politicians are jumping in now.
Sami Janki,
armed forces issue their own investigations.
Thank you, Rev. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, Rev. What we are working with is see something, say something. He has seen something. He has seen a cargo with cocaine and he said cash in varied US dollar denominations.
Well, it is very clear that he saw nothing and yet chose to say that he had seen something. So this is not a matter of if you see something, say something. This is a clear case of a member of parliament who we are told is a reverend minister deciding to peddle falsehood, deciding to lie about a government, and having been exposed is now making a mockery of himself. I mean, you listen to him. You listen. Please, when you were talking, I was quiet.
I will not sit here for derogatory comments to come from my respected friend.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Nobody has made any derogatory comments.
You speak to the
I am saying that
and keep the sanctity
of the peddled falsehood against the government of Ghana.
I've not peddled any falsehood.
So let me demonstrate how you peddled falsehood. So keep quiet.
No flag came from Rwanda.
Maza, keep quiet.
So you have peddled falsehood.
Let's have a very decorous discussion. When you were speaking, I was here. And you've had ample time to make your case. Show viewers and listeners the same respect.
But keep
that
I've shown.
I'm saying that you peddled falsehood. He's sitting here saying that they had suspicions and they put out the suspicions, asking questions and, soliciting explanations from the government. Number one, you don't hold press conferences based on suspicions. That is reckless, that is irresponsible. This country is a serious country. You cannot wake up in the morning because you are hungry or you overate and said, I have this suspicion. So I hold a press conference and require law enforcement agencies to investigate your suspicions? You think that is what our security agencies are there for?
He said he was engaged in oversight duties as a member of
oversight
Parliament.
duties is not about raising suspicions. That is irresponsibility. That is recklessness.
You can't ask questions.
When you are exercising oversight, you exercise oversight based on facts. Even if you have suspicions, the suspicions must have some basis. You've not done you didn't do any checks, you didn't provide any information. And you are talking about suspicions that you require state security agencies to spend taxpayers' money in investigating suspicions? That speaks volumes of this whole matter. It speaks volumes about your own credibility. But in any case, Samson, I submit to you that his press conference did not allege suspicions and did not invite state security agencies to investigate suspicions. He is lying again because he has been caught pants down.
You have a copy of the press conference.
We played the portion that you spoke about.
Are you a reverend minister?
Let me have it
Isn't
again. I want to read a specific portion again to him. Yes, go on.
Look,
go on.
I am reading a quote from his press conference, and this quote was reported by My Joy Online. This is a direct quote, and I want to read that to you. There is no evidence. This is quote in Team Fojo speaking. There is no evidence of any medical referral or patient on board. Speaking about that ambulance aircraft. Rather, our intelligence, not suspicion, our intelligence suggests that the aircraft was used to smuggle illicit cargo, unquote. Where is your suspicion? Why do you lie like that? Did you allege suspicion here? You are talking about intelligence. What is intelligence? Intelligence means that you have been given, you have received credible information about the existence of some facts or a certain situation, and you are saying that because of that, you think that these aircrafts which arrived in Ghana were used to smuggle illicit substances. You made mention of cocaine. You made mention of cash relative to money laundering and so on. Categorical allegations. Now the President of the Republic says, okay, I want to give you an opportunity to share this intelligence you have with the state security agency so that they can investigate it. I mean, if you don't share the intelligence with the state security agencies, where should they start their investigations from? So what any responsible lawmaker exercising oversight would have done would be to say, thank you, Mr. President. I will, voluntarily, or I will happily honor the invitation of any state security agency tasked to investigate this matter.
Samson, ask him.
Yet you,
where the invitation
Chief,
5 days now.
Chief, I think that you are being disruptive. I think you are being disruptive. I think you are being disruptive. I think you're being disruptive. Allow me to make my point. I think you're being disruptive. So you should have been happy about the invitation extended to you to adduce the intelligence you have so that the state security agencies can do what you're calling on them to do.
It's been said that by Felix Kwachiofosu that it was security called Afenyo Marking to make Reverend available. He denies that. And Felix is saying that he had sought to, Afenyo Marking replied back that because what he was doing was an oversight job, they may have to go through the speaker. So now National Security is going to write to the speaker to invite him in the same way that they have invited A+ and Mustafa.
But even though there are no access to oversight, simply fundamentally, if you are inviting a member of parliament, even without oversight, that's a procedure. If you are inviting a member of parliament, even if he spoke from his garden egg farm on any matter that requires invitation, you don't call somebody, whether he's leader, you go by procedure. Had anybody used that procedure? It has even nothing to do about that.
Yes.
Listen. You have no invitation, yet you lied.
Are you listening? Are you listening to yourself?
No.
You, a law-abiding citizen and member of parliament who claims to be exercising oversight, you say you have intelligence that certain aircrafts came into Ghana smuggling illicit substances. You even need an invitation before you go and do that.
That's why I wrote.
Master,
That is
you have
why I
lied.
wrote.
You have proven to be totally reckless and irresponsible.
That's why on 2nd of
and if you had a conscience,
why did you block that invitation?
If you had a conscience,
why did you block
you
that
will be
collaboration?
apologizing for that lie.
Why did you?
You'll be apologizing for that lie. You are just you have just proven to be a liar
and reducing the presidency.
Thank you.
To a mere propaganda.
I'm not done.
Hold on.
No, something. No, I think
allow the security to do their job.
Reverend Fojo, in your press statement in paragraph 1, you said that the Air Med flight and Havoc Air private jet transporting suspected cocaine and cash. And then you went ahead to give the details of the flight and the time, the period they stayed in the country and so on and so forth. Do you know, as a member of parliament, that if I sat here and made this claim, or any Ghanaian sat anywhere and made these claims, by now they would be either in custody or they would be in court seeking bail for a trial?
Do you know that anyone behind the cocaine bust, $150 million, behind the $350 million cocaine bust, behind the money laundering and the 12 container filled with gold and cash, busted in the full glare of media by national security, among other things we are asking questions for, should have by now been arraigned before court?
That's correct.
Shouldn't we rather be more interested in that?
That does not excuse.
If they are interested in my
answer for the question I asked.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
But I asked you a specific question.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Because I have this is a liar who has been
if the priority of the government is to seal and protect drug cartels,
will not answer the
protect
question.
money launderers that they themselves have busted.
Those are different issues.
After members of parliament,
those are different issues
legitimately raising legitimate questions.
An allegation that you are raising, and we have to interrogate
security agencies. From why are they gagging?
Especially that you say the government position is incorrect. We have to interrogate yours.
Because the government spokesperson.
So what should we do now? What should we do now?
The government spokesperson.
What should we do about what you have put out in the public? What should we do about it?
Please, the government spokesperson said that this investigation directed by President Mahama, he didn't mean it.
Let's not repeat these
and that it was only meant to make an example.
I'm asking you, what do you want to be done now? They should go ahead
and make example
What do you want to be done now?
They should go ahead and make example of me.
You answer my question. What should be done about what you said now?
So let's move
what should be done now is for them to go ahead to say to do what they said they would do. To make an example of me and disregard the investigation that Ghanaians are calling.
You don't admit that you don't admit that you did any wrong. You don't admit that you did any wrong.
There's no wrongdoing. There's no wrongdoing whatsoever.
Is it okay for any citizen to speak about suspicions?
What is suspicion?
And speak about them publicly without talking to the security about it?
So since when did it become practice that when a member of parliament is exercising the parliamentary tools? We have a lot of parliamentary tools. One, the media is one. Raising urgent questions is one. Filing ordinary questions is one. Filing oral questions is one. Calling legitimate, relevant agencies before the committee is one. I have used 2 of these tools in exercising this matter. And so if you consider it wrong, let the jury add their judge.
The context is that after you made a press conference, and you became aware that you may have done wrong.
I've not done any wrong.
Can I ask you a question?
That is your conclusion.
I'm asking you a question.
There's no wrong.
Please, can I ask a question, please? After you made the claims in the public and you discovered that you were going to be a subject potentially of prosecution and jail, you decided belatedly, perhaps having been advised by lawyers,
that is false.
To now try to use the Defense and Interior Committee to ask for the security to come and brief you. Otherwise, that ought to have been your first step.
I take strong exception to that, Samson. The reason why I wrote calling for the joint meeting was because I respected the directive given by President Mahama.
Should that not have preceded your press conference?
Nothing should have preceded what we did.
Thank you very much.
There was nothing inappropriate.
Thank you. Kofi, what did you want to say?
The strong assertion.
Hold on. Kofi,
I have not done any wrong.
Quickly, hold on.
And it is false what you are accusing.
Kofi,
you should rather tell them to do the right thing.
What did you want to say?
When the state is threatened, it is really sad that the issue becomes partisan. If we didn't have the kind of polarity we had, and somebody says or suspects that something like this has happened, and note that drug trafficking goes to personal gain and national ruin. I think that if things were better, it should not be impossible for Parliament or persons like him to even be included with the security agencies to just investigate it, not because some wrong has been done, but for the facts to be clear.
Kofi, what he did, would you advise him to have done that as a lawyer? Would you have advised him to go public and speak about suspicion and belatedly go to seek to ask for a briefing by the security or to the Committee of Defense?
No, please.
Let me answer.
I'm asking you a question.
Your claim is wrong. That's not what I did.
You went to the press.
Please, your claim is
before
wrong.
You wrote to the committee.
Samson, I disagree with you.
You went to the press on the 1st.
Samson, I disagree.
Your letter
you
to
have
the
repeated
committee
this
was
about
on
5
the
times,
2nd.
and you are wrong. I keep prompting you.
Reverend.
When a member of Parliament raises a question.
Reverend.
And you
have told us here. Reverend, hold on. You had your press conference on the 1st of April, correct?
In Parliament.
Thank you. Correct?
In Parliament.
1st of April, correct? And
yes.
then you wrote your letter on the 2nd of April, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Kofi.
So that letter is in response to the directive given by President Mahama. If President Mahama
you are asking for the security to come to your committee and brief you.
President Mahama said we should collaborate.
We have heard you.
Let the substance of the matter
my question to
not
you
be
now.
lost.
Kofi, my question to you now
wrongdoing that must be investigated.
I'll come to you. Hold on. Kofi, my question
asking legitimate questions for investigation.
Would you have advised him to go to the press before President Mahama reacts, then he writes to the committee? Because that even gets it bad for him. But for President Mahama writing, he would not have asked the committee to ask the security people to come and brief them.
When I, in the previous government, got credible information that Achimota Forest was being prepared for sale, credible information, I went to the public.
You had credible information?
Credible information.
What do you mean by credible information?
I had information that convinced me that there were preparations afoot to sell Achimota Forest.
Did you see evidence of it?
I had credible information.
Did you see evidence of it?
The information I had was credible enough, but it does not qualify as evidence. Let me finish.
If you were held to prove...
Wait,
hold on.
Let me make my point.
No,
you asked the question. Let me answer.
Again, you are a lawyer.
I would digress.
Reverend Tifojo, sorry.
Let me answer the question. I will get there.
Kofi Bento, you know the basic principle.
I know.
He who alleges must prove. So if you had made that claim and you were asked to prove it, how were you going to prove it?
That is why I'm giving you the example. He who alleges must prove. You know as a lawyer that there are times when, depending on the circumstance, the burden of proof shifts. And
when does it shift? When does it shift?
My brother, you want a law lecture, or let me answer the question. When I finish, you can choose to. I said, I'm using the example of Achimota Forest.
Just tell me, would you have advised him to do what he did?
I wouldn't advise somebody to do that, but in this space.
Why wouldn't you advise him to have done that?
Let me answer my question, please. Listen, you are dealing with a national issue. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm saying if you would not have advised him to do that, then your position is that he did wrong. No, that's not my position. That's why I'm giving you my example that when I put out the information about Achimota Forest, I was threatened with arrest and etc. I had my credible information. And look, if you Google Kofi Bento Goof today, you will see MPP people blasting me online and saying that I didn't have information because
do I hear you say?
No.
Do I hear you say? Hold on.
Don't let me finish.
No, it's important. You won't finish.
I'm saying
Do I hear you say? Do I hear you say? We are all at liberty to speak to suspicion, the way he did at the start, and up to today he can't give any evidential proof, and we should stay at that. And if the state gives a counter position, we should still deny and say it is fake, and we should be okay with it in the country.
The counter position is the official position. At this point, he cannot say he's denied it, except he has other information. But the position of putting out information which he suspects and which he has credible information, I'm saying that, look, my brother here, the president sitting in his office may not know everything going on everywhere. But you have a situation where when some of these things happen, people see it as an attack on them. That's why I'm saying the nationalistic view will be, look, let us find out what the truth of this matter is. Because we have this history, like Prof. Eni was telling you, where this country has been slipping and we are making some kind of, recovery. Let's not go back. It may be one or two persons trying to do something wrong. So where there is credible information and it can be proven not to be credible, we leave it. I take the information that the state has given me. But I worry because, you see, in a sense, it's the system that is being accused. What will it hurt? That's why I started by saying if we didn't have a polarized partisan atmosphere, to include the minority side of parliament and let the security services go into it. Aircraft movement information is historical and is very meticulous. Let's just lay it out to his satisfaction, other people's satisfaction, and put out the information not in a one-sided way.
Yeah, you have said this. You have said this already. Members of Parliament, the minority, for example, in their oversight duty, should be holding press conferences and speaking about suspicions.
No.
Before.
No. No. There is a process in Parliament. There is a way to do it. Okay? What I'm saying something is that, look, sometimes you can say, this is wrong, this is right. It is not always that it is black or white. There should have been a better way. I do think that the committee he occupies in Parliament should have the wherewithal to, behind the scenes, go to the state authorities and say, hey, this is what we found. What do you think about it?
Okay.
And then in a way, find a way to satisfy everybody that this is not what is happening.
Thank you.
We should get to the point where this becomes not necessary.
Thank you. Now, sorry I truncated your submission. Let's hear you now.
Mr. Kofi Bentil is a lawyer. And he knows that spreading false information in Ghana is a crime. He knows that.
No one has spread any false information.
So you cannot say that anybody can wake up any day, put out any information, and if we don't have a polarized partisan system, we are supposed to investigate that. When the person
I didn't say that,
does not adduce any basis or evidence to substantiate that claim,
I didn't say that,
or to even necessitate an investigation.
Sammy,
what you are doing is that you are defending the indefensible.
Sammy, you
are justifying something which is totally wrong.
Sammy, you know that.
At least you have given every Parliament member.
Hold on. I get that. But listen to my question.
You can give me 2-3 minutes before your questions come. It will help. Because you cannot ask me a question or truncate me after every sentence.
I'm not truncating you.
You don't have a lot of things to say. They said a lot of things.
I'll let you say that. So, you know that acts of corruption, drug deals, they happen in the underworld.
Yes.
It's difficult to prove them.
Yes.
So sometimes, or most often, it is suspicion that is triggered for the investigation to happen.
My brother, it is not suspicion that is triggered for investigations to happen. And we are not talking about suspicions here. Let's not overly dwell on the word suspicion. I read a direct quote from their press conference to you. They alleged that they had credible intelligence.
But the press release is right before you. You are reading from somewhere else.
Stop being a nuisance. Your constituents are watching you. You are disgracing yourself.
I take exception to that derogatory.
It is not your time to speak.
I take exception to that derogatory. I can imagine
you are irreverent. Allow me to speak. Yes, stop this.
The cocaine and the money laundering. Who are you covering?
Look, I can
imagine your discomfort
is better than you.
Can you
stop
let
being a
him
nuisance.
Okay.
I can imagine your discomfort.
You stated categorically that you have intelligence.
I will not accept.
Now you are here. If you are a law-abiding citizen, you care about Ghana. You love Ghana.
You said more terrible things when you were in opposition.
The allegations
now we are calling you to investigate.
The allegations you made. At least you would have shared that intelligence with the people of Ghana. And you see, the impudence. He has the temerity to dictate to government who should speak for government. He says that the official spokesperson of government cannot speak to this matter.
Because he lied.
Who then should speak on this matter? What has Felix said, which you have proven to be a lie here? He's giving you the numbers of all the aircrafts, the dates they arrived. He told you that they had landing permits. He told you what they were carrying. He told you the number of days they had to stay at the Kotoka International Airport. He gave you the reason. But where did you get this guy?
Check the money.
What is the meaning of this?
Check the itinerary.
I have never seen anybody be this disruptive on Newsfile.
Okay.
What is the meaning of this? Look, so he has given you all the details, and he has demonstrated to you that these aircrafts were here for legitimate reasons. They went through thorough security inspection by aviation security, by national security, by the national, by the narcotics, NACOC. All these state security institutions inspected these aircrafts, and nothing untoward has been done. He has told you where they went from here. He has given you the numbers. You can track the aircrafts. What again do you want to hear before you know that this man is lying? Because he has not given you any evidence at all. And he says that state security agencies should investigate suspicions, and Kofi Bentel is supporting him. Hey. His suspicions that he is not able to substantiate. This can only happen in Ghana.
What do you call
in other jurisdictions, this guy would have been blacklisted.
Look, when we were in opposition and we were criticizing the dense national organizations,
we always adduce evidence to substantiate our allegations. And that is why we were never... Look, the only time I was arrested on the allegation that I had published false information, the matter didn't travel beyond 2 hours. I was picked from the premises of UTV on grounds that I had published false information. I went to the CID, they asked me, I provided the evidence. Matter ended. You are here. You've made spurious claims. You are talking about intelligence in your possession, in your knowledge, to the effect that certain aircrafts were smuggling illicit substances. You don't have any evidence. He's here, and you're entertaining him. You have no conscience, you have no shame, you are an embarrassment to your party, you are an embarrassment to your constituency, and it is only in the country like ours that you'll be entertained. And I want to say this. If this guy does not honor the invitation of national security to do that,
call them to come and arrest me right here.
I'm coming. I'm saying that if he doesn't honor the invitation,
I dare you to call them to come and arrest me right here.
And he thinks that he can hide behind his parliamentary privileges. He lied bad because he will be arrested.
Drug dealers.
Some of us will arrest MPs, and you must substantiate that.
When drug dealers, there's a protocol you follow. That protocol must be followed.
We will follow it.
That's all.
And we will get to him. We will follow it. It's just a matter of time.
But here.
Every day for thief man, one day for master. Your cup is full. Your time has come.
Your cup
that
is
you
full.
Hold one press conference.
Your cup is full.
Your cup of cocaine. Undermine the goodwill of the government.
Hold on.
Your cup of cocaine. And my greatest disappointment. Look at the way
your cup of money laundering.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Excellent furnishing in a real estate business is a great deal for survival. My struggles as a young estate developer were cut short when I discovered Fernart Ghana. With quality furniture made from the finest woods and amazing after-sale service, Fernart Ghana changed my story with every single home I built. It's a one-stop shop that serves the interests of clients with a variety of living room and dining sets, solid wood kitchen installations, wardrobes, doors, cabinets, beds, pergolas, floor parquets, and many other wooden product that will last a lifetime. With Fernart Ghana, all clients are offered the opportunity to customize furniture to their specifications, and the smile on their faces says it all. Thanks to Fernart, now your home can look beautiful with furniture that would last for generations. Visit Fernart Ghana today and share my story. Locate us at Yaniba Estate, Osu, Accra, or call 0303 966085 or 055 278 4097. Think wood, think Fernart.
Hello, esteemed CEOs. Join us for the highly anticipated 9th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on 26th May 2025 at Kempinski Hotel, Gold Coast, Accra from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This biggest business leadership conference offers actionable insight and strategic opportunities for topmost CEOs and policymakers. This year's theme, leading Ghana's economic reset, transforming business and governance for a sustainable futuristic economy, will focus on transformational leadership to reset Ghana's economy through sustainability, digital innovation, and governance reforms. Be inspired by the special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. Key sessions include CEO presentations, master classes, keynote plenaries, the CEO Excellence Awards, and more. Register today at GhanaCEOSummit.com to secure your spot. For inquiries and sponsorship, contact 0546 391 970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by Ghana CEO Network in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, GIPC, SIGA, and Multimedia Group. Ghana CEO Summit. Be inspired.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform. On Newsfile, we don't enjoy shouting matches. What we want is to deal with the facts about a particular issue. The panelists have agreed that each one of them is going to speak for 2 minutes and no one is going to interrupt the other. And I have a difficult job. I'm not supposed to interrupt anyone. But I have read over this and prepared. If somebody is churning falsehood within the 2 minutes, what should I do? Should I shut up and watch them? And if there is problem, this entity will also suffer? I'm hoping that they will be gentlemen and deal with facts. Professor Enin, having heard from this table, what do you say is the way forward?
Well, so the way forward, Samson, is about rebuilding trust, respect, and collegiality centered on what makes Ghana work best. Because this conversation this morning is a conversation that takes place in all parliamentary democracies, where the opposition gets access to quote the Reverend, credible intelligence, but that intelligence is not put first into the public domain. The opposition or any member of parliament can then invite the minister. So there are 7 procedures or processes. Either questions to the minister, motions on the floor, statements. At the end of the year, they can be part of the report. Then they can also check whether the security agencies are doing their work well through the quarterly expenditure returns. And of course, they can make visits. So during this process, my younger brother, Reverend Intim, can, together with his committee, have visited, either the specific security institutions or the airport. And then there are subcommittees of which he knows that can also take the matter up. But something more importantly for me is that in playing our our oversight roles, there are three things that I think we should always be conversant with. One is the authority that Parliament has that derives from the 1992 Constitution and also the standing orders of Parliament and other legislation. The second is the ability of this committee, of which Reverend Fodjo is a member. The ability, that is the capacity of its committee to hold government accountable over the security sector. And it's a combination of the resources available, the human, financial, and the technical. Finally, relates to the attitude of all parliamentarians, but for the purposes of this conversation.
So this matter is worthy of further pursuit?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because that is his job. But there's an attitudinal aspect to it. You see, the attitude referring to the political will towards the whole idea of oversight. So the question is, how should Reverend Ntim Fodjo and his committee handle this case, elevating it over and above partisan politics?
Okay, thank you, Prof.
It's this problem that Sami Jemfi is then responding.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Now, the overwhelming view by the public is that seeing that you are in opposition and you don't seek the good of the NDC, if you really had any evidence, a shred of it, a scintilla of it, nobody would have asked you to put it out, and nobody would have asked you to contact the security and give it to them. How do you answer to that charge?
No, but the concern my uncle, Professor Enin, raised, I've already addressed it. We are in recess. When you're in recess, you don't wait till 2 months before you file an urgent question on a pressing matter. You don't wait after 2 months before you ask certain questions on the floor of Parliament. This was one of the credible tools legitimately available to the minority, and we so advisedly, in absolute circumspection, used it and brought these matters for answers, for investigations. Now, the presidency gagging the security agencies from doing their work of dispassionately investigating and communicating outcome to the public, and hijacking communication of these specific security matters, go to suggest there's something they will be hiding, particularly when the information put out there by Okwache Fosu regarding with the purpose of
you have done a minute without responding to my question.
And no, please. And the purpose why they came in and where they came from were inaccurate. They didn't come from Rwanda, they didn't come from Angola, Gran Canaria, and straight. So when you put out this false information, it goes to suggest that there is a reason why you are disallowing the security agencies from undertaking their investigations and putting out their credible information out there. So the reason why we used a press conference was because Parliament was on recess.
You have evidence, but you want to give it to the security, is that it?
I have told you what we have. And clearly, after we even wrote further to request for them to meet,
you've told me what you have. You haven't told me what you have. What do you have?
For us, you want me to tell you on your show? You want me to tell you so and so on your show?
The onus is on you.
To give you on your show?
You are being labeled as a liar right now.
No, I'm not a liar. They are liars. So you want me to give you something? This is my evidence, so and so. Sami Jemfi, this is my evidence. Is that how you adduce evidence?
If you could put this information out in the public, you should better put the evidence out.
No, that advice is not taken. Thank you very much, Samson. But
okay, thank you.
But the logic that national security apparatus should not be allowed to take interest in investigating such matters and be allowed to lead the communication. And the assessment for presidency,
30 minutes. Thank you. 30 seconds. Yes,
they are not interested.
Kofi, all right. Kofi, how do we proceed? How do we proceed? Thank you. We agreed on this. Kofi, how do
they are hiding something.
Thank you.
But there are other agencies who are investigating. They are interested.
Kofi, let's hear you. Let's hear you. It's your turn.
National security issues are bipartisan issues. We've had problems under all parties. When these things arise, I would think that Reverend and Co. should handle it first within Parliament in the Security Committee, and they should link up with the security agencies and try and deal with it. But we all know that sometimes there are partisan pulls in this thing. And then it may become necessary, for you to maybe bring it out and maybe raise it or whatever it is. But the point I want to make is this. It is not good for any of us when these things degenerate like they've degenerated this morning. And so I would wish that when we see some of these problems, let both parties come together and establish the truth. None of us benefits. Drug dealing, all these things, they are for private benefit and national ruin.
What do you suggest? How do you go about establishing the truth here?
Within Parliament.
How?
When he has this information, the Parliamentary Committee, whatever it is, they have the way of summoning, even in camera, put the information there, discuss it, make the effort. That's what I'm saying, be nationalistic about it. When it comes out like this, it's a partisan thing. But let's be clear here. Under both parties, we've had a slippage in drug dealing, in all of under both parties. And the people who do them don't necessarily have the sanction of the politicians. But when the problem comes, it becomes partisan, then they defend. My worry is that just like it's happened here, it will be happening in other places, and then they slip through. And when it degenerates, we will all suffer for it. So national security issues are bipartisan. When he mentioned the issue of the cocaine, over 10 containers of gold and cash enter your country. You know what? Professor will tell you, where water can pass, air can pass. If that kind of thing can happen to your country, mercenaries can come here and take over your government. So look, let's not play with them. And it's really sad that they degenerate into partisan arguments. And there should be also no recklessness or point taking. If indeed somebody was landing plane loads of cocaine and things here, don't be taking any points on it because we are all at risk.
Okay.
So really, I'm hoping that we'll find a way to make this bipartisan. Parliament is the best.
Nonetheless, Reverend Intim has not been reckless. You said there should be no recklessness.
No. You see,
he's not been reckless. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Not everything is a yes or no.
Thank you.
I hope he did better with it, but I don't know what kind of resistances and issues.
Thank you. Sorry, don't intervene. I'm sorry.
$500 million.
Reverend. I'm sorry. Let's keep to the bargain. Sorry. Yes, let's hear you.
Something. It should be clear to any discerning mind out there that this issue is not an issue. It's not a national security issue, which requires a bipartisan, approach or resolution.
I agree.
This is a clear case of disinformation gone bad. There's a clear case of a member of parliament who irresponsibly decided to concoct and fabricate a lie against the government of Ghana to court hatred and opprobrium for the government. And he has been exposed. He has been caught pants down. And it is very clear. He himself says that he was talking about mere suspicions. So per his own confessions, he has no evidence worthy of interrogation or investigation. Again, per his own confessions, he has absolutely nothing to buttress or substantiate the allegations he has made. His Excellency the President, in a spirit of transparency and accountability, has directed the relevant state security agencies to investigate the matter, will go through the law, follow due process, and get him to appear. And should he fail to adduce evidence, he will face accountability. And that is something that we can guarantee him. So you see something? Let us stop endorsing recklessness like Kofi Bentil is doing.
And endorse cocaine.
Let us stop encouraging people who set out to lie. If this was genuine, if there was some basis, we will all have said that, look, there is some basis for this allegation. Let's not dismiss it. Let's go and investigate it. We've all been in opposition before. But when somebody set out to concoct, fabricate non-existent issues, lies against a government, you don't come on air to entertain, encourage, or endorse that. So what he has done clearly is irresponsible. It must be condemned. And if he is still, if I were him, I would do what gentlemen do. Look, I got it wrong. I am sorry. Forgive me. That is all. You have your honor intact. But if you continue to insist, attacking people when you know you don't have the evidence, then what you are saying is that let's delve into the matters. And should we find that these allegations were malicious, frivolous, vexatious and all that, and in breach of the laws of this country, you will be prosecuted because you are not above the law. And a federal market will not be able to save you from accountability in this matter.
Sammy,
that you can be sure.
Sammy, yes, so you're done with your time, but I need just a minute again with you.
Yeah.
He's raised suspicions.
Yeah.
The time these flights were leaving, we had a blackout at the airport. Some say that is curious. Like he has also raised 2 aircraft, both technical faults, around the same time. That's curious. Anybody who is well-meaning, who has come chance onto something like this, should raise an issue.
Okay, Samson, assuming without admitting that what you're saying is even wrong, right, that the circumstances surrounding the arrival or departure of this aircraft from Ghana is curious, okay, assuming that is the case. Curiosity is not the same as saying that I have intelligence that the said aircrafts were being used to smuggle illicit substances. That we are not talking about curiosity here. That's number one. Number two, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, who is the right person to speak on this matter. He has ultimate responsibility for government communications because all these state security agencies are part of an animal called government. And the overall spokesperson for that entity is Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye. Has given you the registration numbers of the various aircraft, true or false. He's giving you the time that they arrived in Ghana, why they had to overstay in Ghana. He has given you the time they left Ghana. He has given you, they have even shared with you pictures of the materials they were carrying. So if you, and he has told you that all the relevant security agencies inspected the aircraft.
One of the flights, the first flight was stopping for what he calls technical stop. And it was also
I think that one was the one which was stopping for screening.
Both he mentioned technical stop. Yeah. And he says that it needed this certification which is required for the European countries.
Scanning and screening, a certification necessary for the EU market.
It took off with the cargo, knowing that it needed this certification. Yeah. Why didn't he do it wherever it took off from? Why did he have to come to Ghana to do that?
But he has explained to you that where the flight took off from, that system is not available.
And I'm telling you that they have it.
Yes, exactly. And for all you know, that is the standard practice.
Okay.
Don't you have flights?
Thank you.
Don't you have flights?
We have heard you.
It's a lie.
Don't repeat it. We have heard you.
Yes. The normal practice.
Thank you. We are done.
Thank you. Lie on such
transit various airports for one reason or the other.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That is standard practice.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to be able to continue to refer to you guys as gentlemen, please. Please, gentlemen. Thank you. Reverend. Thank you. Thank you. And I have your messages here, and I'll share it with my guest and with the rest of the world. Gentlemen, please. Rev, thank you. All right, so Akilu Fantiakwa Begro says, Honorable Fojo should just humble himself and admit that he got it wrong. Honorable Edutete says, to Kofi, what back should we not go? What back should we not go? Is it not that it was happening, but previous government chose to hide it? That is why we didn't hear of it, and now government is tackling it head on. Intim is running from his own words and now doing it personal with Kwakye Ofosu. Ingoliba writes, Kofi Bentil is back again with politically infected, unpopular and legal opinions. Daniel YW Asari says, I think Intim Fojo is on the defensive now, and this is clear evidence of him coming to terms that he got all this wrong. He should be picked up at all cost. Nana Tevia says, Reverend Intim Fojo should produce evidence of his wild allegation. You can't peddle falsehood just to tarnish the image of the country. He who alleges has to prove. Parkwesi says, Intim Fojo will be in serious waters. See how he is crumbling under scrutiny. It's embarrassing. I agree with Felix. He should be made an example of it if it turns out to be peddling lies. Saka says it's quite sickening and appalling listening to Reverend Intim Fojo on Newsfile this morning. His consistent evasion of the questions being asked is a clear indictment of his personality as an MP and as a man of God. He's clueless. Nene Ayiku says it is obvious that the NPP is in a hurry to find their version of Okudzeto-Ablakwa. It will do them a lot of good to get their facts and evidence right on all occasions. If not, they will lose their credibility in the eyes of the public. Collins Little Tete says, while drug networks are indeed sophisticated, blanket skepticism without specific proof undermines credible investigations. Each case should be evaluated on its own merit, including forensic evidence, witness testimony, and financial trials. Musa Abattoir says, sincerely, Sami Gyamfi has extensively analyzed this issue in the better perspective. However, when Reverend made such serious allegations, I honestly thought he would give concrete evidence. Nothing. They ask him to show proof, and he's dancing around the issue. And finally, Emmanuel Ej Bequin says, listening to Reverend Intim Fojo on Newsfile needing a rescue on his claims only tells me the kind of hard work Honorable Okudzeto-Ablakwa did to put his oversight exposés. Parliamentary oversight is not a child's play. Never seen a reverend being this evasive on a top show like Newsfile. We'll be right back. We will find out, help us to find the missing containers. We'll be right back.
Let me.
The last time the minister spoke at the beginning of this whole container gate or container saga, he said the containers are in the port. Kojo, the conversation would have been different if the containers had left the port and they were in the custody of what? ECG. And ECG, and then the containers got lost from the yard of ECG. Not so. But in this regard, the containers are within the port of the Republic of Ghana and it's within the control of GPHA and Ghana Customs. My candid opinion is containers cannot get missing. They can be misplaced. If they get lost at sea, you are immediately informed. Since there is no record to the fact that containers got lost at sea, because of the international supply chain logistics, there's a platform. When you key in a container, the way bill, who was in control of the container, all of that is there. I just think, we should dial it down a notch. Let's all assist the minister. Because we all need to get to the bottom of this, to get to the bottom of where each container sits. And I think it's just a matter of all of us, including ECG, including the two state agencies who are in control of the port, have a proper sit down, go through the paperwork, run it through the system, and definitely we'll come to the right conclusions.
So are you saying the containers are there at the ports?
What I'm saying is the containers cannot get missing. At worst, they have been misplaced. Or the only other option of a container leaving the port is through an auction. So there's also a database that will show which containers have been auctioned. So the whole conversation is ECG, yeah, it's okay. Fine. In every home, there are issues. But the conversation now is this. Let's situate it. The containers were in the port. To the best of my knowledge, at the time I was leaving, it was well within, the only people that would give me that full facts was the Director for Materials and Transport. And I believe strongly at that point, his main concern was that we were not having enough cash flow to take the containers out of the port.
Okay.
2, there was an investigation under the LNR project. So those bunch of containers, which was quite a number, were also stuck at the port because Yoko was investigating.
How many?
I can't say off the top of my head, but they are quite. Now, PDS also came in. At some point, we realized that some of the containers were being auctioned. So
auctioned by whom?
By the GRA, by the Customs Division.
While you were there, they started to auction some of these containers.
Yes, it came to my notice, and I responded. I don't know, for some weird reason, some of those letters have found their way into the public domain. I wrote a few letters saying, hey, could you halt on the sale of these containers? I quite remember, I don't think I got any response on that. So that's another way that containers can leave the
So these containers that are now popping up, according to reports, in the custody of Chinese and Indians all over the country, could be auctioned containers.
Yes. That's why the only way to ascertain this is a proper audit and a proper investigation.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. My guests you have been listening to so far, Reverend John Ntim Fojo, Ranking Member, Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. He just left us because he says that after reading the messages, he felt I shouldn't have read them and that I read them to embarrass him, so he will not stay. I hope he understands that this is what we do, just the template. Nobody's doing anything to embarrass him. That's how it is. And we want oppositions to hold the fire to the feet of the government. They shouldn't, back in like that. Professor Kwesienin is security consultant. Sami Jemfi is acting managing director, Precious Minerals Marketing Company Limited. Kofi Bentel is senior vice president, Imani Africa. Now we're going to try to see if we can find these containers. You know how a container looks like, how huge it looks like, and they've gone missing. How did that happen? How is that even possible? Dr. Steve Manteyao, chairman of the Ghana Extractive Transparency Initiative, will join us for the last segment. Victoria Bright, you know her popularly as Vicky Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. She joins us in this segment. This show is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneur leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, simply dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. Syntex Tank, it's strong and it's tough. Activa International Insurance, our clients are passion. So on this one, because of the development and the time that has run out, we will hope that, gentlemen, you can be as brief as possible on this one. So as many as 1,328 containers have not been accounted for. They were meant for the ECG, and a lot of money has been spent on them. So they've been trying to find them. They have actually incurred demurrage at their ports over a period in the sum of 909 million Ghana cedis. That's what has been happening. So a committee was set up to look into the circumstance, and it brought out a preliminary report, and the NIB has also been brought into the picture to try and see if we can find these containers. First, Kofi Bentel, at Imani, you have been working the figures and you're looking at these things. What do you say?
One, there's a concept in policy analysis called the anarchic state. You can Google it. The anarchic state is a state where things should work, but they don't work. We have an anarchic state. Unfortunately, a stage beyond an anarchic state is war. So we should be careful. The containers are not missing. The containers have documents covering them. There are paid officials who were superintending their movement. They know where those containers are, and they must be made to answer questions. In the law of evidence, when you are the person with information and you are asked the information and you don't supply the information, everything adverse will be attributed to you. In other words, when the containers landed, there were papers covering them. There was an officer in charge. When they were put in a certain place, papers covering them. try to take even a box of things out of the pot, and you understand what I'm saying. The different hoops you have to go through. So Samson, what I'm saying is this. Somebody has information about where the containers are, and that person is in the pot. That person should be made to answer whether he's in office or out of office. If we are not an anarchic state, a proper investigation will determine where these things are.
In fact,
we will find them and prosecute people.
You have followed the group with the cameras.
Yes.
To the Pram and elsewhere, where they have seen some of the containers and the wires in there.
Yes.
And you see that they use car rims.
Rims to cover them,
To cover them up. Yeah. It's the material that we...
I didn't want to digress, but that's what I'm saying. Even where they steal and they try to hide, you can track it. Look, in this country, police were able to find a dead body under concrete. The containers are not missing. In a functioning state, we will find them, and the people who are involved will either answer questions or go to jail.
Police also arrested a truck that was going to A+'s constituency. And the allegation is that it appears that during the transition, that is when some of these things happen, you know, the grabbing that was going on, alleged. This was part of it. The police arrested that vehicle as well, and they saw some of those wires. The ECG is the only one that procures them for the country.
Anarchic states. That truck came through a port, came through police barriers, came through all kinds of state systems that must work. So again, if we are not a system whose officers can choose what to do and what not to do, like you said, they could trace it. Look, and the minister may not be, Minister Jinapo may not be a security person or whatever it is. With just a little effort, you can find all the places they have been hidden. So look, Samson, my point is those containers are not missing. They were in somebody's custody at a particular point. And then after that point, we couldn't find them anymore. That last point, whoever is in charge there should be made to answer these questions. We can't afford to continue this anarchic arrangement.
So, Samija, as we are told, the ECG between 2022 and 2024, its planned procurement was for 4.1 billion, but it ended up procuring 16.9 billion. And here we find where some of it is going.
I'm very happy with this question because, you see, that is the root cause of what we are discussing for me. That is the root cause, and that is where we must begin the discussion from. How did we get here in the first place? You see something? This case is a very sad matter, and I agree with Kofi on this matter, that, and I even say that this is a clear case of criminal negligence by enemies of the state in the previous management at ECG.
Are you not speaking too early?
No, because we are, as we speak, the facts are very clear. And the facts show that ECG did not have any need for these cables that they kept importing into the country. Every organization, not to talk of a company limited by shares, has a procurement plan for every year and a budget. And in that procurement plan and budget, the company provides for all the items, the materials, the resources it will need in that fiscal year. Yes, there can be situations where the company exceeds that, you see, but you cannot have a situation where consistently over the years, one organization always exceeds its value procurement plan by 200%, 300%, 400%. In the year 2023, for example,
by nearly 13 billion.
13 billion. Simply doesn't make sense. So clearly somebody stood to benefit from the mere award of these procurement contracts, even though he knew that ECG had no need for that. Again, Samson, we know as a matter of fact, and ECG itself has conceded, that none of these contracts were awarded in accordance with the public procurement law. The ECG claims that it is a limited liability company, and therefore its IGF is exempt from the scope of the public procurement law. which is clearly not the case. Section 14(1)(d) of the Public Procurement Law says that the law governs procurement with IGF or public institutions as well. They are making reference to a certain legal opinion authored by the former Attorney General, which legal opinion was not addressed to them, but the Ministry of Finance, and which legal opinion has not been upheld by the PPA. Forgetting that the Attorney General himself is a member of the governing board of the PPA. If you want an exemption to use established commercial practices for your procurement as a company, the law says apply to the PPA and let the PPA give you expressly that exemption. They didn't have that, yet they kept on awarding contracts in breach of law. Need we remind them that there are people languishing in jail today in the NCA matter for breach of the same public procurement law, and that an EC chairperson lost her job allegedly for breaching the public procurement law. If you read the public procurement law, what they have done is totally criminal. And I am hoping that if for nothing at all, that will be pursued by the state. Aside that, you look at the sheer wickedness, okay? You import things that ECG doesn't need. The things arrive at the airport. You have a shipping unit at ECG that is supposed to clear these things. And then you always give excuses that you don't have money to clear them. You don't have money to clear the containers, yet you keep importing more containers. I mean, if you read the report of the committee set up to investigate this matter, ECG has spent in excess of 909 million cedis on just demurrage. 900 and almost 1 billion new Ghana cedis.
And when we say demurrage, we mean penalties.
Penalties.
You are keeping your things at the port, and you are not removing them at the port. It incurs demurrage.
Taxpayers' money. I mean, these are public funds. Today, that ECG is owing about 68 billion cedis. Who is being called upon to pay? The people of Ghana. So why will you do this to your country? And you see, the saddest part is not even this part, Samson. When they allow the containers to pile up and accumulate huge demurrage on grounds that they don't have money, then they go surreptitiously to award contracts to clearing agents, some of whom don't even have custom clearance. They award contracts to clearing agents. Then the clearing agents are pre-financed by the ECG, the same ECG which said they didn't have money to clear the goods. In the case of Mint Logistics, they pre-financed them by 30 million cedis. Gave another company 127 million cedis contract to clear the goods. Just say, no, we will give a contract to someone else to do it, pay huge monies to that company in breach of law. You see, these things have gone on for a long time. And today we are being told that 1,346 containers equivalent to $489 million. $1 million cannot be accounted for. I mean, this is mind-boggling. This is completely unacceptable. Okay. And I am happy that the Minister for Energy, and let me commend him for how transparent he has been on this matter and his determination to get to the bottom of this matter. I'm happy that he has written, beyond the investigations conducted by the committee he constituted, is written to the NIB to take this matter up and investigate it. We don't want any excuses. The NIB must give us timelines. This cannot be treated as business as usual. We want to know where the containers which cannot be accounted for are, who was responsible for saying those in breach of public procurement law in the award of all these contracts and all that. Let's get to the bottom of this matter and let the laws of this country work.
Thank you very much. And the minister wrote a letter dated the 2nd of April 2025, and it says, request for investigation into the Electricity Company of Ghana's ECG missing containers. I refer to the attached report of the technical committee constituted by the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition to conduct investigations into the status of the estimated 2,500 containers of ECG at the Tema port. The finalization of the investigation of the committee revealed that 1,357 of these containers could not be accounted for, thus allegedly missing. In view of the foregoing, the ministry kindly requests your outfit to commence investigation into the missing containers and furnish the ministry with the findings of your investigation. John Abdullahi Jinapo, Minister. Now, Afenyo Marking, the matter came up in Parliament. And you know, Afenyo Marking recently was the board chair of ECG sometime in 2024. Earlier, it was Kelly Gajepo between 2017 and 2024. And then Herbert Krapper also took over. And then Afenyo Marking did a brief period there. Here, Afenyo Marking, what he has to say about what goes on.
How come containers at the ports?
There are suspicions now.
Containers that have arrived. The bureaucracy at our ports. They say the containers are missing. Mr. Speaker, it is true that when these containers come, there is some connivance with some customs officials, and they sell these containers, these cables that ECG needs after the supplier has been paid. They sell the container, and then people resell back to ECG. Are we pretending we don't know? Instead of us to pay attention and kill the rots, then we come here, then MPP, NDC. So now they say, oh, maybe it's happening under MPP, it's happening under NDC. No. An honorable minister, I know what you can do. If we can give you support to do it, you must adopt a posture, a non-partisan posture, and tackle the rots. But if we all want to approach it, MPP, NDC, Mr. Speaker, it will remain. NDC will spend 4 years, 16 years, 20 years, the same thing will be there. They will come into opposition, and the same thing would arise again. Then the perpetrators will be there in the system. Mr. Speaker, today, Ghanaian businesses cannot sleep because there's a new government, whereas foreign businesses are surviving because their ambassadors will be protecting their businesses.
Right. So, Prophet, briefly, what can you say about this? And the ECG we are talking about today, that this is how its liabilities look like. Some of you mentioned a while ago that it owes, the ECG owes about 68 billion, and it owes 1.73 billion US dollars to the IPPs. The 68 billion is in cedis.
Samson, thank you very much. And I think that process has started, but it is not going fast enough, and it is not going deep enough. You know, I get frustrated when I'm showed, you know, factories where the wires are and all this car business. This is not only an anarchic state, as Kofi has said, this is also a vampire state in which those who have been put into positions of authority, as Sami has described, suck the blood out of the state, spits the remaining out, and then pontificate to the state when it wants to do something. And I get pretty upset when the word missing is used. Missing is when your wallet drops and you don't know. Stolen is when somebody deliberately picks it from your pocket. And I think the starting point for this conversation is the question, how? How they left the port. Then the second, what is it good for that some people connived to take it out of the port? And I want to challenge those who sit on that committee that they need to look at two things. Number one, not all the 1328 stolen containers had these electric wires. I suspect some contained personal things that they didn't want to pay for.
Or some contain meters. We are told that sometimes the meters are procured when we don't need them. So you are there and you are told to change your meter. You are forced to change your meter when you don't need it. The state is just spending so that a businessman will be made rich. Did I lose Prof?
Well, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes, but the committee, the issue is now in the hands of the security, as in the National Intelligence Bureau.
Yes, but Samson, you see, we need other people other than those guys. Why? Were they not at the port when these huge things were stolen? Did they write a report? Did they track the containers? So my second point about what we should be looking at, what other things can be in those containers that the state of Ghana must not see, that other people who have a certain interest in undermining the sanctity of the state might have brought in those containers?
Okay.
Now, institutions at the port who failed to deliver on their mandate must not be the same institutions investigating this case. The minister and Sami, please tell the minister and His Excellency the President, we need to widen the membership.
They are both listening. The President listens and watches this show.
Otherwise,
when they don't get to watch it in the morning, they watch it in the night. I mean, all presidents.
Okay, well, I can assure you some presidents certainly watched and didn't let me. So please, Sami, let this go there. Institutions at the port that failed to protect the national interest cannot investigate this case. Number 3, have we seized any laptops, mobile phones to start a process of network analysis? You see, because those involved in this are not only in Ghana. And when you tell me you've arrested 14 Chinese and only 3 Ghanaians or so, it points out that we are totally in the wrong direction. Levels of collusion when these monies that Sami is mentioning are involved, people will say the state of Ghana. So yes, we are tickling ourselves, which is very nice, but we are not scratching deep and wide enough. Let's not use this purely for publicity. It may come to bite us in a way that we don't expect. There is more to this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's have Vicky Bright's comments on this as well. And Reverend Tim Forjo, speaking in the course of the week over this matter, actually he's the one ahead the first time from an idea of the worth of what is said to be missing, and he put $700 million to it.
Yes, Samson, this is organized crime. It's organized crime that is very deep rooted, and it's rotten to the core. It starts from ECG and ends up at the ports. So it's something that is extremely serious. Okay? Let's look at ECG as an institution, because that is really the crux of the problem. Without all the lapses and all the collusion and things going on there, we would not be where we are now, which is in a very sorry and sad state, okay, to all of our detriment. Look at the kinds of monies that are being mentioned. We need that money. There's so much that we have to do as a nation. And the president has inherited practically nothing, you know, and debt upon debt upon debt. And why is that the case? Because a few selfish people consistently keep deciding that they can just help themselves to Ghana's money. And enough is enough. How can someone be sitting? First of all, they don't believe they are subjected to the procurement laws. Sami addressed that issue. I mean, I find that argument extremely problematic. And it is sad that an attorney general in this country actually came up with an opinion to that effect. How can you say you're not subjected to the procurement law? You are a public institution. You only have one shareholder. That shareholder is government. That shareholder is government. You are, public funds. The act is very clear. It's very clear. It's public funds, whether it's internally generated, whether it's a grant, whether it's a loan, etc., etc. It's all public funds. And also, if you look at the institutions which have been exempted, like the banks, I mean, we can all see why. They are operating purely in a competitive environment with other banks. Some of them are even foreign with parents with very deep pockets. So they have to be freed up to go and pursue the business of banking. But you are a near monopoly, if not a monopoly. All of us here in this building, we all buy our electricity from ECG. So we don't have a choice. We have to go there. So, I mean, I find that argument fallacious, is problematic, and it shouldn't even be entertained at all. And also, one more thing I'll say to that is that ECG itself knows that it is subjected to these rules. If not, why would you consistently, over the years, keep going to an institution called the Public Procurement Authority of Ghana to seek exemptions if you don't believe you are subjected to the rules? It doesn't make sense. If you believe you're exempt, why go there? What are you going there to do? And then you continue, they say no, and you just ignore it. I mean, you're a state-owned enterprise. How do you ignore the laws that you're supposed to be setting an example? How do you ignore the laws of the state? So, and then the CEO, I understand, has a personal limit of $1 million. That's over 15 million Ghana cedis. Over 15 million. So he can sit in his office and decide to. So I want to know who arrogated that authority to him. Was the board involved? And in all of this, I haven't heard anyone mention the board. Look, under the Companies Act, the obligations, the duties, the responsibilities of directors are very clear. They owe a fiduciary duty to the company and by extension to all of us as Ghanaians, since it's a public entity. So where are the directors in all of this? How do you go and approve a company to go and do clearance which doesn't even have a license? I mean, the lapses are so many. It's so yes. I mean, and when you hear these values, it's just chilling. It's mind blowing. So I'm very happy with what the minister is doing. I commend him for it. And I think he has to drill down and find these things out. Everything in the port is electronic, so it can be traced.
Right.
It's very clear, and I don't think it takes
actually,
long.
the former MD, Samuel Dubik, says the point you just made. He says, even if it is lost at sea, you will be notified because it has a unique number that can be tracked anywhere. So did they track the numbers and they didn't find them, or they are just resorting to the fiscal counts? Containers that are in the custody of customs and Ghana Port and harbors, what does that have to do with ECG? Did the containers get missing in the custody of ECG? The investigative team never contacted me. Meanwhile, I have not gone anywhere and I won't go anywhere. So what was the rationale behind that? If they wanted to do a thorough investigation, they should have called me.
I don't even know where to begin with this one, because what he's saying, yes, if you look, it's a very simplistic argument. Let me start off on that basis. Very simplistic argument. If he doesn't see the correlation between what is happening in ECG and says it has nothing to do with them, then I have very big problems with that. Okay. And I think every well-meaning Ghanaian who loves their country will have a problem with it. You are the MD of ECG. You are the ultimate, other than the board under which you operate, you are responsible for everything that happens. He himself should be able to answer some of these questions. He should be able to answer some. And then you say it's pressure from above. And I don't understand why we feel that if you're occupying a public seat and someone is exerting pressure on you, okay? Someone is exerting pressure on you to do something which you believe goes against the company's fiduciary interest or your duties as CEO or MD, You feel glued to that. Nobody is gluing you to the seat. If you feel strongly about it, do what other people do in other countries. Resign. As long as you stay there, it is no argument.
In Ghana, we don't know how to
come
resign.
back. This is the problem. So don't complain.
All right.
Don't complain. You accept the responsibility and you get punished for it if you are found to be culpable.
Okay.
You cannot sit there, do the wrong thing, and then say you're being forced to do the wrong thing, and then expect Ghanaians to say, "Oh, pressure, no, no shit," or whatever.
Beyond the criminal investigations, the procurement expert Komna Atabedu has been saying there ought to be a forensic audit. Yeah. He was on our platform, and he pointed to numerous, governance issues and procurement infractions under the PMF and the PPA and the Companies Act as well. Would you say we should do more than just criminal investigations?
I think we need to, I think we definitely have to do the forensics. And I would want a wide scope.
Okay.
Right from the personnel at ECG who were involved in this, management and anybody else, the board itself, who authorized these things, who ordered them, and who authorized that order. And then you go to the financials and the regular things. And also one thing we probably don't, we need to let the public know more of is the Whistleblowers Act.
Correct.
Because people don't do the linkage. So we need to probably do some kind of exercise to educate Ghanaians on how that works, so that they'll feel emboldened to blow the cover on some of these things for us to see. So yes, criminal investigations definitely, and the consequences have to be seen through. I mean, we have, I think the act will probably need to also be changed. 5 years imprisonment fine, but there's also the 2,500 penalty units. I don't know whether one penalty unit is still 12 cedis.
It's still 12
If it is, then it's about 30,000 cedis, if my math is correct.
That's right.
And so that is not a big enough deterrent. So that financial penalty has to be, I mean, look at the kinds of monies we're talking about versus 30,000 cedis. So we need to look at some of these things. Look at the procurement, look at the procurement regime as a whole, and then see where we have weaknesses, strengthen those weaknesses, look at institutional and regulatory gaps, and see how we can close some of these gaps.
All right.
Yeah, on this message from Ubika, there's something that's coming to my mind. You recall that when the MPP was in office, Parliament was always inundated with application for tax exemptions for multinationals and private companies and all that. So it beats my imagination why the government...
I'm conflicted because I led a suit to stop some of those tax waivers.
But the question is, if they were minded to seek and actually grant tax exemptions for multinationals, private entities, even assuming that it was true that ECG didn't have money to clear these containers, why didn't they give them exemption to clear them? Because this is a wholly owned public entity.
Exactly.
They kept on importing these things. Forget about the fact that we didn't need them. Forget about the fact that they didn't follow procurement law. But at the end of the day, the taxpayer was going to pay for it. Absolutely. And we needed these cables very badly. So why won't you give them exemption?
It was being done for 1D, 1F companies. That was a regime as an incentive for those companies.
Yeah, so what about ECG? If indeed they didn't have them. 1 minute. And so Senior, before you come in, just one sentence. You see, Dubik Mahama should stop talking. He should stop talking. The question is, why did we have a situation where 2,500 containers belonging to the ECG were held up at the port in the first place? It is because of his recklessness in awarding contracts for things that ECG didn't need.
You are not saying the same about the board chair who spoke about the fact that these things, the last board chair,
it applies to all of them, including Herbert Krampa, including Napo, including all the ministers who sat down for this to happen. This should not happen.
So yes, quickly, what do you want to say? Quickly. I beg. We keep talking about forensic audits. We are not there yet. Please, somebody should ask the GPHA chief executive to give information about those containers that arrived at the port and who took them out. A forklift lifted those things, put it on a low loader, and somebody passed the papers and signed them to put them out of the port. The head of GPHA should simply give that. It is not forensic.
All right, thank you.
It is simple.
Thank you very much. For those of you commenting about my shirt, it is by the kind courtesy of Konati Clothing. You can call 0244 676732, 0244 676732, Konati Clothing, and they are still. MVP colors. I love them. I love them.
Color.
I love them. I love them. Like I always say, the parties are not criminal organizations, but they have individuals in there who are bad. We deal with those individuals, right? Now, and Vicky spoke about the Whistleblowers Act, and I'm getting messages about how we need to educate people a lot about the Whistleblowers Act. Since 2006, we passed it, but we say very little about it. So let there be a lot of education, that there is even protection for you, security protection, if you blow the whistle. And you are likely to even get 10% of what government is able to recover if you blow the whistle, except there's a fund that's supposed to be set up. It still has not been set up. Okay. I've got some of your messages. I'll read them quickly, then we take a break. We'll return to see if the Goldbod is what we need to do what it says it will do. Companies belonging to shareholders and not management. The owner of ECG is Government of Ghana. Procurement is pool demand of operations and stocks both in stores and on order. Okay, thank you. I hope that message is understood. Then Frank Anderson Jr. says that this is not a committee matter. This is criminal. It is an organized crime, like Vicky said, and must be treated as such. We know when these containers arrived in Ghana, arrest them and bring all investigative body to swiftly sniff out the criminals. We talk too much in this country. We need to start doing. This is what happens in advanced democracies that we so admire. The system must work outside political structures. Thanks for that message. Yakubu Ibn Chamba says the ECG, as things stand now, is a burden on the coffers of the state. How can we allow such an institution to cause more harm to the state? On the matter of the missing containers, I think the ECG is insulting the intelligence of Ghanaians by saying that 1,357 containers have gone missing. The criminals behind this embarrassment must be thrown the books. Somebody ought to account for the containers. All cost. Why do we hurt Ghana so much with impunity? Thank you, Yakubu Ibn Chambers. Thank you. I've got many more of your messages. Let me take a break. When I return, I'll read a couple of them before we continue with the matter of the Goldbod.
Hello there, I am Emefa Apau, your host of The Probe, here on the JoyNews channel. Your Sunday evenings are never the same. I get to give you company in terms of critical analysis of all the topical issues that concerns you and speak to all the people that matter. When the newsmakers want to speak, they speak on The Probe.
The IGP's distraction is no benefit to the committee, but we won't sit down for the IGP to be disgraced and insulted without giving him a hearing.
You can't miss it because when it comes to audience participation, you are topmost priority. Start your week right on The Probe.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. There's a law, very fresh, baked law in Ghana. And it is not only about repealing and revoking e-levy and all those other taxes, but this one establishes a gold board, like the cocoa board. And it is supposed to oversee, monitor, and undertake the purchase, trade, and export of gold and other precious minerals. It is supposed to promote value addition to gold resources and other precious minerals of the country. It is supposed to support the accumulation of gold reserves by the Bank of Ghana and generate foreign exchange. It comes to collapse the precious minerals marketing company, collapse and replace it, so to speak. So, as you already know, the head of that institution is right here with us. Imani Africa, you can trust them. They are raising issues. So let's begin by hearing what their problems are with this institution. Then we take a comment. We have Prof. Dr. Steve Manteyao also joining us on this matter. Vicky Bright has taken leave of us because she came to deal with the other matter. Here in the studio also is Stephen Akka, who is Executive Director, Ghana Gold Export Foundation. Thanks for joining us, sir. Right. So, Imani.
Yes, sir.
Why? You people, everything you have papers on them.
Oh, we don't have any proper work to do. So we just sit down, we analyze
Tell us,
we get
what is it that you are seeing that all the people who are praising the gold board are missing?
Actually, in a sense, we are praising the gold board. We've said something over the years and some people miss it. Our job is not to look at what is great and praise the government for it. They have enough people to do that. What we think our job is to look out for the pitfalls, where the problems could come from, and highlight them so that they will be taken care of, and then hopefully we can avoid these problems. So it's not like we are against everything. Let me make the point clear. In every situation where a state entity is formed, not in Ghana alone, it's a basic tenet of policy analysis. There are basic things that drive the formation, the motives for it, and usually the motives are very good. Okay, but there are also assumptions that are made, and usually the assumptions are wrong. The motive for the gold board is good. In fact, I am one of the people who believes that we have done such a bad job with our gold over the last 150 years that we are better off as of now leaving it in the ground for our children to do better with it later on. That's a certain principled position. But the reason why we are saying so is that we don't seem to be doing well when it comes to gold. So something different must be done. To that extent, the motivation for the gold board is absolutely fantastic. That we will create some sort of entity that will maximize our benefit as a country from our gold resources. The next point that must be made is that every government since Kwame Nkrumah has had the same vision. And in fact, the last time this vision was expressed in some entity, it was in Japan. Somebody decided that we're going to have to sell all of it, take some money, and then go and do some floating of something on a stock exchange somewhere. There is always good intention, but then the devil is in the details of how it is done. Of course, you remember that we were very much against the Japan, myself and my colleagues. Now, in the case of gold board, we think it is an improvement where you have a situation where the state is trying to marshal resources to just focus on this resource and make the best out of it. But then the assumptions come in. Every time a state institution is formed, there's an assumption that it will be manned by perfect people. People who are not corrupt, supremely competent, okay, and they will always seek the national interest. There is almost never a situation where that happens. The next assumption is that it will create perfect systems that will execute everything according to book and things will work well. And then the third assumption is that it will operate in a perfect environment where you won't have normal problems and abnormal problems. But if you take environment, for instance, when you create an institution, there are people who immediately set out to study it and game it. And when you create those institutions where you concentrate too much power, you create an entity which now makes its officials rent seekers. The last example, the example I'll give you is when they created this Galamsey task force. I give it because it was on this Newsfile. I was here with Inusa and co. And I said, the people who have been taxed to go and chase them will become the people who are committing the sins. And that is what happened. Now, here's our issue with Goldbod. Great idea and whatever it is. When you concentrate commercial activity plus regulatory activity plus all of that in a government institution with powers to interact with people and industry and others within that ecosystem. And that, if you look at Section 44, so we have some of the bills. I've been looking for the actual one that was passed. Going down, they have tribunals, they have inspectors. Yes, the president appoints some of those people and all those things, but that is why I say the assumption is that we have perfect people working with perfect systems in a perfect environment. Gold is a spirit, I've told you.
But that's something you can't help.
No, you can't help it.
You're setting up an institution and it's people who populate it who do the job.
You can help it. That's why we have, for instance, in governance separation of powers. That is why across this country you will see you have regulators, you have commercial actors.
If the people will be bad, they will be bad. If they will be corrupt, they will be corrupt.
No, that is where you don't have to make the assumption that you are going to have perfect people. You hedge against these things. Why separation of powers is there not because people are bad persons.
So in this Goldbod, where have they gone wrong, and what is the preemption you are making about the temptation to...
You don't have the time, so let me give you
a
few examples. Number one, today as we speak, gold is extremely hot. Like, gold is the price of gold has gone very high. There's a lot of money chasing gold. I can tell you, now here, market, there is no need for government to put any state funds behind the buying of gold. And market, every money we put as a government behind the buying of gold today, tomorrow we'll come back and we'll establish probes around it because they will be wasted and looted. You can arrange such that private funds will go. There are enough people trying to buy gold, all right? And then when you have this situation where, you know, in law, when you're a government and you are the sovereign and you enter into commercial activity, you go to the level, Goldbod is almost operating at every level, okay? For instance,
it's a one-stop shop.
That is the problem.
So that's the prescription we have loved. One-stop shop.
It's the wrong prescription. I'm saying
so you have control.
If you had the time, I'll show you where in this country we have departed from that and internationally it's wrong. So I'm saying, look, if you are the person buying the gold, and then you are the same person saying that the gold is 60% pure or 50% pure, after a while, you will buy the gold. When it's 90% pure, you say it's 60% pure because you are the one who determines it. Okay, when the commercial entity is also the regulating entity, that one is the one you are dealing with somebody, but you are the person policing the person. There are too many conflicts there. So we are saying, look, in our eagerness to try and stop Galamsey, to try and get, things out of gold and whatever it is, we may be making too many mistakes. Look, it's a good direction, but this model is problematic.
So do you agree that this model at least will stop the smuggling or minimize the smuggling so we can accumulate the gold to ourselves as a state and be the ones to now trade it and help to shore up our forex and work against the cedi falling in the ways that we normally don't like? Do you agree that this can achieve that?
No, nothing will stop smuggling except strict enforcement and punishment. Nobody anywhere has stopped smuggling of gold. Now, the problem I have...
If the government becomes the only buyer, you can't sell it to anybody else.
It will minimize, but it won't stop. And when it comes to minimizing and stopping, when you have a situation where all the power is concentrated in one place, you are going to have people who become so powerful, too powerful. And when Sami is gone, when other people have gone, sometime down the line, these same people with the absolute power, you will find will become the people who will be doing the smuggling. Because they themselves are checking themselves. It never works anywhere.
Has the Goldbod model not helped us?
Goldbod, as I speak,
it has helped to prop up our economy over the years.
I'm saying Goldbod, as I speak today, as far as I am concerned, has failed.
But imagine this Ghanaian state without Goldbod.
No, you see, again.
Can you?
Yes, I can. I can. See, when people made money from cocoa, it's when we didn't have cocoa board. Travel into our villages, you see old good houses. People became rich over cocoa when we didn't have cocoa board. When cocoa board became a state institution, it helped the states, but it impoverished people. Cocoa farmers are the most taxed in this country. And it's because of the activities of cocoa board. You don't have the time here. What I'm saying is that when you concentrate too much power in a government institution and you do the analysis, you find out that, look, as you are looking for the good, you may be doing more bad than good.
Okay.
Goldbod is a good idea. This law seems to be in the right direction, but there are too many landmines in it, and it will explode one day. Let's start, but let us quickly go and amend this thing.
So take a breather. Take a breather. I'll come to Sammy before I come to Steve. Try and convince those who think that this is too good to be true.
Well, Samson, thank you. Let me indicate that on this matter, I'm not debating. I'm here as a public officer entrusted with a duty to provide clarification and information on matters of concern to various stakeholders. The law we have today is a product of extensive consultations, but for the contribution,
Imani has actually applauded you for opening up the consultation, unlike the previous government where they didn't open up.
And I say we have this law fit for purpose in this current state because of the invaluable contributions of various stakeholders. So we appreciate, their contributions. Unfortunately, in the case of my brother Kofi Bentel, I'm not really getting, the crux of the issues he's raising. First of all, let's understand why Ghana needs Goldbod. Look, gold is a precious mineral we've been endowed with as a country over the years. But we all agree that as a nation, we have not derived the necessary benefits we ought to have derived from it. And that is because government has not taken keen interest in the trading of that precious mineral called gold. Our focus has been on royalties and taxes. But in terms of how gold is traded and how the states can maximize benefit from that, we've not done that as a country since independence. Okay? Nkrumah wanted to do something like that. And so in 1963, he set up the Diamond Marketing Board, which metamorphosed into PMMC. Okay? And so what President Mahama is saying is that let's have a commodity board for gold and other precious minerals that monopolizes the trading of that commodity so that the states can get the needed benefits we need from it. What benefits are we talking about? Number one, foreign exchange. Gold is one of the highest earners of foreign exchange in the world. We've done something brilliant with cocoa, despite the challenges we've had with cocoa board's management. Okay? Cocoa board has been a blessing to the state year in, year out, because it is the main commodity that brings in foreign exchange in advance for us as a people. We are able to get, under the NDC, the actual NDC government, cocoa board could give us $2 billion in forest sitting at the Bank of Ghana at the beginning of the cocoa season. And that is what served as the bulwark of our national currency. The two main sources of forex for Ghana has been cocoa and borrowing from the Eurobond market, or borrowing in general. Today, cocoa board has been mismanaged, is on its knees, collapsed by the MPP. They can't go and even syndicate funds again. Ghana as a country has also been locked out of the capital market. We can't go on the Eurobond market and borrow in dollars again. Where do we get dollars? For the woman at Makola who wants dollars to import rice or sugar from China. Where do we get dollars to support our currency? So the previous government started something which was good, a domestic gold purchasing program by the Bank of Ghana. Safe to say that it was shrouded in opacity, and the entities, the main entity which was powering it, the Bank of Ghana, did not have the powers to sanitize the markets. And so they were doing the right thing in a wrong policy environment, which has led to huge losses on the books of Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana buys gold, MIF, another state agency buys gold, PMMC is buying gold, you have many traders, and the market is dominated by foreigners, mainly Indians and Chinese, and they are reaping the benefit of this important resource relative to trading. So Mahama and the NDC says, you know what? Let all these state agencies back out. Let's upgrade PMMC into Goldbod. And let this be the sole agency responsible for buying, selling, assaying, and exporting this mineral gold, so that we can track all the forex and bring the forex back. Today, Kofi Bentil may know, before Bank of Ghana intervened in the market, gold was being exported by bullion traders, 70% of whom are foreigners.
Which is wrong, yes.
And they are required by law to repatriate the dollars, the forex, within 30 days of export. Only 80%, not 100%. Even that, they don't comply.
Agreed.
And so when you hear that gold gave Ghana $11.5 billion in 2024, small scale contributing $4.6 billion, you ask yourself, where did the money go to? If government is the one buying and exporting, the dollars will be here. You get the dollars every 3 days, every 4 days, the dollars is here. Now, so that is the whole rationale. We need dollars to stabilize the exchange rate. Government cannot see this important role to Chinese and Indians and private Ghanaians who have proven over the years that they are not interested in repatriating the forex.
Agreed.
So government says, I'm intervening. I want to do this myself. You will continue to buy, but buy for me and I will do the export. I will even give you the money to buy. And I'm regulating you to make sure that you do not smuggle the gold and we do not lose the needed revenue and dollars. And I even want to move from exporting Dory, unrefined gold, to exporting bullion through value addition. I want to move from the total export of all our Dory, unrefined gold, and even allocate some for the downstream fabrication companies to use gold for jewelry and other ornaments. I also want to ensure supply chain traceability so that the gold we get from small-scale mining, which at the moment is not accepted by the LBMA market, can be accepted and can form part of our gold reserves. This is the reason why we are doing Goldbod. Now, concern number one. You say that, number one, the last time a government sought to do this was Ejapa. Please, senior, this one you know. Ejapa is nothing like Goldbod. Ejapa was a government. That. Yes, you know that. Ejapa was a government seeking to monetize.
I said that, yes.
Our mineral royalties over 15 years, investing that in an SPV, a company incorporated in a tax haven. And you, from Imani, you came out and showed that that was totally undervalued and we're going to lose money. Goldbod is here in Ghana, wholly owned by Ghana. Ghana government is giving us money to buy gold and export the gold and bring the dollars in within a period of 3 to 4 days for every trade cycle. So this is not Ejapa. That's number one. Number two, legitimate question, you say that Goldbod is being given too much powers, regulation and commercial. Not necessarily so. You see, Goldbod has no competitor. When it comes to its core mandate of trading gold, which is buying, assaying, and exporting gold, it has no competitor. So where would the conflict of interest arise? Where? Because Goldbod is an entity, just like Cocoa Board, giving the power and the right to buy and export gold. Okay? Now, Goldbod says, I don't want to nationalize it. Ghana is not a communist country. So government will not be the one buying it itself. Just like Cocoa Board give licenses to buying companies and gives them seed money to buy cocoa for it, we will also license aggregators and buyers and give them money to buy gold for us. So the private sector players still continue to do business, but they buy for and on behalf of the Goldbod. So the regulatory powers we have been given relative to this core mandate is so that we can regulate the people we have given license to, we have given money to buy gold for and on our behalf. It's as simple as that. We are not going to be a player and a referee. For example, if Goldbod was one buyer in the market and there are other independent buyers in the market, and we are a buyer, commercial entity, commercial role, and yet the regulator of the other buyers, that's conflict of interest. In this case, Goldbod is the only entity buying, selling, assaying, and exporting. It has licensed agents by doing that trade for and on its behalf with funds advanced to them by the Goldbod. And Parliament says we are giving you powers so that you can inspect the premises of these people. The provisions you made reference to, Section 44, Section 45, is the power of a Goldbod inspector to go to the premises of a licensed agent of Goldbod to check his books, to see where...
There are many subsequent to that, the tribunals and things.
NCA has a tribunal. These are new provisions we put in our laws to enhance alternative dispute resolution. It's not a matter of giving too much power to an agency. So that issue is totally moot. No issue of conflict of interest arises in this issue. And I say that with all due respect, you know.
As for the tribunal, it's not only NCA. There are many
agencies. And you check all the laws, it is there. Right. Because we want to encourage, you see, they themselves, the parties, they love it. Because they know that when they go to court, something will tell you, he is in court with PMMC. How many years has that case been?
Oh, come on.
How many years?
Please put that aside.
many years. So they are happy.
That's
and the central and look, this tribunal, the fact that it's a Goldbod tribunal doesn't mean that it takes instructions from the CEO. The chairman of the tribunal is a retired justice of the Superior Court, set up like a court.
Yeah.
So let's understand.
I was just saying that in fact the ADR mechanisms, you find them in over 30 legislations in this country.
I know how those things.
So that is not too much power. But the most fundamental point, Samson, he makes the point that why should government put money in the purchase or the trading of gold? And that very soon we will set up a program.
Amin Adam has also raised that. The minority has raised that.
He raised that from the outset when we went to the committee.
Before the passage.
Yeah, correct. When he went there and he read this, he himself applauded it. He said even he tried to do something like that. Let me show you why. Let me show you why you need government.
He says when the MPP regime was doing the gold policy, they never put state money.
So where were they getting?
They never put budget into it.
Bank of Ghana was Ghana was printing money to buy gold, number one. And Bank of Ghana was taking CDs from BDC.
That's a wild allegation.
So where does Bank of Ghana get money from to buy 20% of the gold produced by large-scale mining companies? No, tell me. Well, where does the Bank of Ghana, when Bank of Ghana, why has the IMF told the Bank of Ghana to stop?
Doesn't have
that is monetary finance. But let me answer his question. Let me tell you why there cannot be any nobler, agenda for government to spend public funds on than gold trading. Let me tell you that. You see, it is true. Goldbod, we don't need money from government before we can buy gold as an institution. Because there are many people, as I sit here, across the world, from UAE, India, Europe, chasing us with dollars. Take our money and buy gold. Take our money. They are chasing us across the world with billions of dollars. You know why that is not our first option? Because that person is not a Father Christmas. When he gives you the money, he expects you to buy the gold and export it to him at a discount. Some want 5% discount, 6% discount, 4% discount, which means that if you take their money, you have to go and buy gold from the licensed miner at that high discount plus your own discounts. So we will be required to be buying gold from miners at 7%, 8%, 10% discount. Will we get the gold? That will only fuel smuggling. And so that is why government says, so that you will not go and buy gold from miners at outrageous prices, which will give them an incentive to smuggle the gold. I am giving you the seed money so that with state funds, you are not required to sell good at any discount.
Okay.
You can buy it at the best price possible. That is the reason.
Right.
And this money given us is only seed capital. If we go to the market today and the money is not enough, we've already met with Bank of Ghana and Seaboard. We are going to syndicate CDs from them to complement this amount of money. You understand? Currently, even these agencies in Ghana, they don't even have the capacity to.
There are state entities today financing the buying of gold.
Thank you.
Some of them are making losses.
We are very limited time.
Yes. And the reason they are making those losses is why you need Goldbod.
But is the state financing gold and they are still making losses?
No, the reason is that. No, it's important. Let me answer this one.
See, Mantea is on the line. I need to get to him quickly.
Just 5 seconds. The reason they are making losses is that they are buying gold from an unregulated market. They don't have an entity like
you need to abolish all of them.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. Dr. Steve Mantea, thank you very much. Earlier you were not on, and I almost forgot that we secured you back on the line. Hello, Steve Mantea. Okay, we lost him. So let me come to ACCA. So we are told that revenue loss to gold smuggling, it's about 2 billion. And we know that gold's contribution to exports now is even beyond 50%. It's been hovering around the 50% range since 2012 to now. And now, thankfully, it's gone beyond. The small-scale miners have such a huge contribution to the process. And now, all of them are having to do this and sell it to the government. What do you say?
All right, Samson, thank you very much. I think what we need to understand is that this is a new program that it was launched in 2018 by the World Gold Council, just because of the outflow and the inflows of gold that developing nations such as Ghana, which Ghana is part of it, they were looking at. So if you look at the program, I mean, we are part of the key people that initiated the responsible sourcing program, because when we wanted to promote some of this program, we realized that the main thing was the responsible sourcing program, who look at the market and the supply chain. As we speak, for the past 4 years, we've seen that the momentum for gold price have crossed even the psychological aspect of what we wanted, because we all thought gold never reached 3,000. An ounce of gold today is around $3,100 per ounce. Now, I think the Goldbod is a program that from day one we've actually promoted it. Our only concerns as an international, because we sit to most of the task forces, that we want to see how this program can look at the landed price and also the domestic price. I think this is where I wanted Imani to really understand, because see, the gold business is not more of theory. It's more of like a critical program where you have to understand how the gold move from the mines to also even end at the refinery. Now you're in a country that you call yourself number one producer of gold. However, you don't have an LBMA refinery yet. And there are other alternative certification that we can look at. We as exporters in this economy, as Ami mentioned, you will see that people bring in dollars, but at the end of the day, even when you go to the bank and even want to change, our biggest challenge has been the FX. So because the commercial bank will tell you that there is a specific rate that they have to give you. Now, Samson, what you have to understand here is we want to see how the Gold Board can support the compliance nature of the gold trade in Ghana, which we are not. Because Ghana gold goes a lot, as you mentioned, but I can tell you that none of the LBMA refineries have ever accepted the small-scale mining gold, all because of the tag that we have. So if there's a tag on an asset, which is number one commodity in your country, and you have, when you go outskirts of Ghana, you have this set of tag on you, then how are you going to achieve your balance of payment? Because you see that ever since, as I mentioned, I don't know, even from Kwame Nkrumah's time, Ghana has never achieved a balance of payment. The only commodity that can help Ghana to do this is through the ASM to support the landscape. Because bear in mind, the landscape works on the reserve. They don't work on the good produce. Because a landscape has already invested money, gone on the stock exchange, raised money for the next 20 years. The small scale miner doesn't have it. So I think my advice to my brother Sammy is that we should involve more of the compliance team to look at how the outflow goes and also the inflow comes. Then at the end of every quarter, as I mentioned, the weekly purchases, the organization that can come in, that can even advocate to say that the supply and the programs are really going fine. Now, there's something also you have to understand. If the Gold Board is well implemented, I think it is going to eliminate galamsey. Yes.
Galamsey?
Yes. Why?
The galamsey.
Yes.
I'm interested in this part. But do about 1 minute for me so I go to Dr. Steve Mantia.
Steve focuses more on royalties. This is ASM.
Okay, so you tell me, I'm interested in the galamsey.
There is something called certification. In the gold business, we have standard and certification. When you go to Dubai, Dubai is not an LBMA country, which is the refineries that buy the gold from Ghana are never LBMA certified. However,
LBMA is a large mining entity.
No,
so what?
It's a
London Bullion
Marketing
Association.
It's a certificate that created by a union, by a committee somewhere.
Okay.
Now, even though Dubai is not, yet they receive all our gold. 90% of the gold in Ghana goes to Dubai. Why are they accepting our gold? Because they put a program called the DMCC. So when goes, they have to just follow by the compliance. Sami is the new MD. I can tell Sami that if he's able to put the hallmarking program in place, whereby any gold that he's buying, we have our own label stamped on it. If the person is holding gold, because in the policy that there's holding in it, if somebody is holding gold and we don't have the stamp of PMFC, it means where did you get the gold from? That's the first way. Okay. Now we know, per the even at the Ministry of Lands, the Boundary Commission, we know where all the gold are being produced from. Whether the person are bringing gold in and they're exporting gold, that we know. So what Sami have to also add is we should put in the hallmarking program, so that at the end of the day, everyone holding gold will have the gold.
Thank you, Dr. Steve Manteo. I'm very sorry, but we have just about 3 minutes to spare or less, but we must hear from you. We are hearing all these organizations, small-scale miners, everybody applauding this. How come you are not seeing the pitfalls that Imani is pointing to?
Thank you very much, Samson. I think Imani had the opportunity to input into this whole idea of the establishment of the Goldbod. We all received invitation, and those of us who cared actually attended and made submissions. I had my own reservations, even though I thought the whole idea was a good one. And given the opportunity, I expressed them, and they were accepted, incorporated. And so I'm happy with what we have. I think what we need to understand as Ghanaians is that there is no perfect regime anywhere. And whether or not it works and serves our interests depend on us stakeholders. So when we are given the opportunity, I think we should seize it and help to improve it so that it works to address our national interests. And I think one point that has not been made by your panelists is the fact that the Goldbod has the advantage of broadening Ghana's access to mainstream gold markets, moving us away from the dominant market in Dubai and India. Okay. And so it helps us to get better value for our gold. Okay. Let me also make the point that even though small-scale gold mining in this country accounts for 40% of our total national gold production, its contribution to government's fiscal revenue is less than 1%. And so it means we get nothing. And again, because it's dominated by foreigners who come in with dollars and exchange their dollars with abochi, government does not get the benefit of the dollars to shore up our city.
All right.
And that is why I think this intervention is very strategic. We all need to support it so that it works for Ghana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Steve Manteo. Dr. Steve Manteo, thank you very much. And then Steve Akka, Executive Director at the Ghana Gold Export Foundation. Dr. Steve Manteo is Chairman of the Ghana Extractive Transparency Initiative. We had Vicky Bright earlier. We had John Intim Fojo earlier. Professor Kwesi Enin also. Sami Jamfi is here, Acting Managing Director of the Precious Minerals Marketing Company. I suppose by the coming into force of this law, that company is gone. Kofi Bento is here, Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu says the ECG container scandal is a well-organized crime that requires stern and immediate attention. It should be handled properly with thorough investigations, prosecution, imprisonment, and refund of stolen funds. I advise the current administration to act swiftly to avoid facing the wrath of the people. It's time for accountability and transparency, and for those responsible to be brought to book to restore the public trust and confidence in our institutions. The people demand justice and action now to prevent further erosion of faith in our governance. There are hundreds of messages but directed at Mr. Intim, Reverend Intim. We won't read them because he's not happy about them.
You didn't try. Why?
Have a good afternoon. I'm Samson Lago.
Hello and welcome to Sages. And you know, on Sages we talk to the older generation who've lived in this country. They have seen it all. And they tell us what their thoughts are about the country and their discussion of various fields within which they find themselves. And today the focus is on music. I'm sure you're asking yourself, what about music? Well, a lot to do about Ghana's music, what it was in the past, and what it is today, and what it can be in the future, and how that can be used in transforming our lives, our economy, and our society. My guest is ethnomusicologist and professor of music, John Collins. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
And we're glad that you've welcomed us to your sanctuary, if I could put
Oasis.
it that way. Oasis. I like that one. I hope everything is going on well.
In this immediate surrounding, the temperature is about 5 degrees cooler than if you go on the street.
That's very true.
Because of trees, just simple trees.
I see that you like, well, this is not the first time I'm coming here. The last time I was here, we were having conversations about how people were, desecrating the oasis by throwing stuff in here, you throw it back. Your wife would throw it back at them, right. In those days. But, I mean, let's talk about, before we even get to when you came into Ghana and everything, because when I say, oh, this is a Ghanaian, people will go like, oh, but I see a white man. But, you'd explain why you're a Ghanaian later on. But why all these trees in an era where the little trees we have, we're chopping them off and, planting trees and building houses? Why do you have so many trees here?
Well, it's my father. When my father left, he was teaching at the philosophy department at Legon for 30 years. So when he retired, he went into farming here. Okay. And this whole area in Fanko was farming land. So he grew plantations. We had a palm plantation. This is the remainder of it. But basically this was a bush forest. So gradually, as people came into the area, they cut down all the trees. Oh. And then if you walk around, you won't see many trees, but these are the ones that are left. So I've got about 150 trees, and we're planting more. Even just this morning, I've got somebody planting 60 bananas in the back.
Okay.
So I'm a great believer in trees, but it wasn't like, it was a legacy from my father, like this house and his farm. So this is a legacy of what this area used to be, a very beautiful area, actually.
What changed?
Human beings came in.
I like the point you make. Human beings came in. What about human beings coming in changed this area?
Well, unplanned development and people, for instance, there are a lot you probably hear in the background, sawmillers operating because of people are so poor, they need to cut down the forest to get their daily bread. And vast amounts of timber has been cut. And of course, it doesn't come from this area anymore. It comes from forested areas. So I mean, people just don't seem to appreciate trees very much. I don't know why. I think one of the things is that because you had so much natural vegetation, Ghanaians in the past took it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. So if something is very familiar to you, it's very common, you don't think much about it. But when the thing starts to disappear, then you start, it's like music, we're going to talk about music. When the old music disappears, then you get worried about it disappearing. So it's the same with the natural environment as well. So, I mean, but this is a lifesaver because this is natural air conditioning. The temperature is lower here where we're talking.
Exactly.
If you go just where the sawmillers are, you'll meet the Sahara Desert, just 100 feet from here.
And it's hot these days, so.
Well, of course, it's getting, look at what's happening in Mali. It went up to something like, in fact, my son told me last 2 weeks ago, the temperature, even in this house, was 37 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think Mali was 47 degrees. In centigrade, the human blood is at 37 degrees. So if you get fever, it goes up. What happens when you're living in an environment which is above 37 degrees? You're going to start cooking. And that's what's been happening in Mali. So 37 is about just the same temperature as blood. After that, and that's what we're entering into in this, maybe the next 10, 20 years, or what's going on with global warming, we're going to have temperatures actually hotter than human blood.
Exactly. And that's worrying. And I like the fact that you have these trees here. which we see. But when I started the conversation, I mean, we'd come back to the trees. Before we move away from the trees, what do they do for you?
Well, they actually cool. The height of any tree is also the depth of its roots. So they're tapping deep water. So water that's not available on the surface, the trees, and then they draw the current of water through their leaves. And actually trees, not just the leaves, but the trees themselves are slightly cooler. It's like evaporation. In the olden days, I don't know if you remember, people used to keep their water in a cooler.
Yes, I remember.
It was porcelain. It was made of clay, so it would sweat, and it would cool it. Or if in the olden days, my wife used to do this actually. If she wants to have a cold bath, she would put a bucket of water out in the morning, so by the evening when she baths, it drops because of evaporation. So it's cooler. So that's what trees do. Basically, they cool the air and they draw. They're like solar pumps drawing water from the ground. They have, and of course, the fruits and etc. you get from trees.
So if I get you clearly, you're definitely worried about how we're, felling trees and not planting them, because over time, we'd look back and realize that we've made a mistake.